The meeting of the Caddo Parish Commission, regular session agenda for July 6, 2023 at 3:30 is now called to order. We need to let you know that we'll be doing voice vote today because I understand the system is out right now, so we'll move accordingly. Mr. Clerk?
Thank you. Yes, sir. There has been a blackout in a building that unfortunately hosts our wireless network. So unfortunately, we'll be doing voice votes today, but we are able to move forward otherwise. So just let us know if you have any questions. And Commissioner Hopkins.
Yeah, here.
Commissioner Johnson.
Present.
Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Young.
Here.
Commissioner Burrell.
Here.
Commissioner Jones.
Here.
Commissioner Gijwat.
Present.
Commissioner Kaufman.
Here.
Commissioner Atkins.
Here.
Commissioner Chavez. Commissioner Lazarus.
Here.
And Commissioner Epperson.
Present.
All right, you have 10 of 12 members present, and that does constitute a quorum.
Okay, today our invocation will be given by Commissioner Stephon Jones and our Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Ron Cawthon. Would you please stand?
Let us pray. God our Father, we thank you for life, for health, and for strength. Thank you for the opportunity to be called your children, your sons and daughters. And we call upon you now, O God, to show yourself strong within our parish. We need you so desperately now, O God, to keep us safe from all hurt, harm, and danger, to protect our young people, to turn the trajectory of things around in our parish. We know that you're possible and that you can do it, and we pray that you would lead us and guide us to make the right decisions, to make sure that the citizens of our parish are safe and able to live fruitful lives. As we go throughout this meeting, it is our prayer that everything that we say and do is pleasing in your sight, that will be one accord and it will bring glory to your name. This is our prayer, and we pray these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. As we prepare to render the hand salute for those that are retired, put your hand over their heart. Let's remember the POWs at MIA, and also please remove all hats. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Today we have a special guest in our midst, maybe even a celebrity, Miss Audrey Garlington, Commissioner Todd Hopkins, I believe, granddaughter. Would you want to introduce her?
Yes, sir. Audrey is my granddaughter. She just graduated from Parkway High School. She's headed to LSU, and she's got a beautiful voice, and I asked her to come and sing today the national anthem. So if we stand again and join, please.
Stand, please.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you so much. Okay. Mr. Clerk.
Okay, that brings us to agenda additions, where you do have two potential agenda additions today. One on your printed agenda, and the first one is a potential agenda addition to add a visit regarding the Prolec GE plant in Caddo having a job fair advertised in Bossier City. And the second potential agenda addition is on your electronic agenda, and it reads, let's see, it is a potential agenda addition to reallocate up to $75,000 in ARPA funds from the True Fund project to the Shreveport Police Department to provide additional resources related to the recent mass shooting incident on July 4th. So if there's a motion to expand the agenda to include those items, it would be appropriate to open a public hearing at this time.
Okay, want to make the motion first?
Second.
I'm sorry.
I want to be recognized for a point of information prior to the motion.
Yes, sir.
Do we have anyone that's present from GE Prolec plant?
Well, there are members from NLEP that are here on their behalf with a statement.
Okay, because I was going to say, if not, I figured we could do this under the administrative report, because we had been speaking with Commission Clerk's office as well as the administration relative to this issue.
Okay.
Thank you.
What do you, okay, well, well, there's been a motion on the floor here by Vice President John Paul Young and second by
myself.
second by Commissioner Johnson. Okay, now we can do the public hearing. Okay, the floor is open for a public hearing to determine whether or not we should add these to the agenda. Anybody who is for it can speak now or against adding this to the agenda. If there's no one, public hearing is closed. Okay, now we can vote.
Okay. So to expand, the motion to expand the agenda, Commissioner Hopkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson, Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Gajwa,
Yes.
Commissioner Cothran,
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez, Commissioner Lazarus,
Yes.
Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
Okay, that motion is that motion carries with 10 in support and 2 absent. And so that brings us now to citizens' comments. Those items, by the way, will be added. One will be 6.2, and that is the visit from regarding the GE Prolec job fair. And then the other item will be added under your new business section. It is, let's see, that item is going to be 20.2.
Okay, it appears that I have only one citizen comment that is not on a zoning issue, and the zoning issue will be handled in the public hearing.
I believe you're
Certainly.
correct. In reviewing the slips that I saw, it appears there's only one that is not related to zoning issues. And so at this time, these are the citizens' comments. If somebody does want to address the commission on an issue other than zoning, please fill out a comment card that's located in the chamber foyer, and you can return those to me here in this box to my left. And those comments are limited to 3 minutes. Just as a reference, because I know we do have a lot of people here to speak regarding zoning issues, there is a separate opportunity for that. So, Commissioner.
Well, at this time, we would have our, on the citizens' comment would be Ms. Irma D. Rogers. Ms. Rogers, would you come forward, please? Just state your name for the record, please.
Irma Rogers, 1920 Michoud Street, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71107. Good afternoon, President Berea, Vice President Young, Ms. Erica Bryant, and staff. I come this afternoon bearing a couple of gifts, or one gift actually. My comments are, we celebrated 20 years for Martin Luther King Community Development Corporation last month. We recognize many of those officials who had worked with us, including our own Representative Mr. Johnson, our city council persons, and some of the others. But we also want to recognize this commission for the many years. Not all 20. We only started getting grants about 10 or 11 years ago. But since that time, we thank you for the support you've given us in terms of being able to give back within our community. With the funds that we get from this commission, we're able to provide things like school uniforms that were not being provided in 2012 within my community. We're able to provide for Christmas for some of those needed. We don't do a lot of toys, but we buy coats, hats, gloves, underwear, things that we know the underprivileged and less fortunate will need to help them get through the winter. Those are just a few of those things. We help to provide for tutoring services. We just finished our 2-week summer program. Funds were used to help put on that program because when the pay raise went up for teachers from $25 an hour to $40 an hour, a 4-hour day is $160 per teacher. We had 9 teachers and 2 assistants. So we thank you for your support down through the years. I'd like to ask the president, Ms. Erica Bryant, who is the administrator now, this one is really for the parish, to please come down and receive the award. Mr.
Now, we relegating them to take pictures now. So. Second job. Second Christmas job.
Okay, if there are no more public comments, would you like me to move forward for scheduled visitors?
Yes.
Okay, great. The first visit today is from Loving Little Ones. And I know that we just passed out a handout that they provided. I believe they have some representatives here today. And following this presentation will be the presentation from NLEP regarding the GE Perla.
Okay. State your name for the
Greetings.
records. My good brother.
My good brother, President Burrell, and commissioners. My name is Jacoby White. I'm the Executive Director of Loving All Little Ones, a nonprofit entity here in Shreveport. And today we want to speak to you about one of our events that we have for the community. I'm going to turn that over to our Community Director, Mr. Victor Thomas.
How y'all doing? Victor Thomas, 495 East 72nd Street, Shreveport. We just want to make sure that we invite you and everyone in the community out to the 2023 pop-up shelter. The pop-up shelter is a one-day resource fair that we host at the State Fairgrounds. It's what it basically is. It provides a full gambit of different resources. We'll be providing breakfast, lunch, and dinner to those who are in need. Not only that, but this year we've expanded in which the Hirsch Coliseum will be a medical clinic, providing much-needed medical services and observations and checkups. And also in the agricultural building, we will be having job placement services, educational resources. There'll also be free haircuts, free hairstyles, you name it, housing services, you name it, it'll all be there. We partnered with Goodwill this year to do the job placement services in the ag building, and also our partners Aetna, Better Health, and Aetna Medicare Solutions. Also, Music Mountain is going to be sponsoring our hydration stations again this year. So I'm really excited to be back at the fairgrounds. They've always been so welcoming to us. But we want to make sure that everyone comes out this weekend. It's Saturday at the State Fairgrounds from 10 to 5. Breakfast starts promptly at 10 o'clock, and then we'll roll into lunch and also dinner service. So we just want to humbly just invite you all out. If you guys are free, I know that you guys have a distribution service also this weekend, but hopefully after you guys finish that, you can also let those individuals know to come by the fairgrounds where we'll have some more things in store for them.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. Thank you. Yes. Commissioner Jones?
Mr. Thomas,
Mr. Thomas?
could you state phone number people need to reach out if they want to volunteer and help you out?
Yes, if you want to volunteer, if you just want to come and stop by and help us, you can call us at 318-344-9754. You can also visit our website, www.lovinglittleones.org, or you can message us on Facebook. We are available. We've been collecting donations, clothing donations. If you want to clean your closets out and bring some things down, we do have volunteers on staff that are sorting those things. And like I say, if anybody wants to come by, you're more than welcome to stop by at the fairgrounds. We'll be there tomorrow also, accepting volunteers. But once again, Saturday, 10 to 5, you can call us at 318-344-9754.
Now, where will they drop off the?
So we partnered with the Highland Center this year, so we've been collecting donations there, but we will be at the fairgrounds at the Ag Building where we'll be receiving those donations. So if anyone had any clothing, any small kitchen appliance items, or any other material goods such as diapers, anything of those natures, you can just bring it to the fairgrounds and we'll be available.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Mr. Clerk?
All right. That brings us now to 6.2, a visit from NLEP regarding the GE Perla expansion.
Okay. Mr. Justin Dixon, Mr. Andrew White.
Good afternoon, Mr. President, Commission. I'm Justin Dixon, President of North Louisiana Economic Partnership. And we have got a letter. Prolec G is in the middle of their expansion. They're very busy. They're doing a lot of work. They apologize for not being able to make it, but they did write this letter from Kevin Quinlan, who is the HR director, and if you're okay with it, I'd like to read it. Hello, Commission. Prolec GE tried to schedule on a short timeline a Shreveport hotel that had the space needed to accommodate a large job fair. Shreveport Downtown Hilton was our first choice, but was unresponsive to our needs and requests. Therefore, we booked the Hilton Garden Inn in Bossier. We will, however, be having several job fairs in the future for the large quantities of new hires. One will be held in November, and we plan to have this job fair in Shreveport. We will visit some of the hotels located in Financial Plaza off of Pines Road. Thank you for understanding, and we appreciate all that you do. And that was from Kevin Quinlan.
Okay, just a second. Anybody for comment from the commission? Commissioner Epperson.
Thanks for coming, Justin.
Yes, sir.
Of course, you know, when I was notified of this, I think the Friday after the storm, it was news to me. I got several different answers. I got an answer from, I think the young lady was Mrs. White, that stated that it came from the GE Prolec plant. Then I finally contacted you. You were traveling. You stated that they had tried to contact someone from the city and they did not get a response. And
I want to, that was my fault. It was actually the Shreveport they tried to contact. It wasn't anybody with the city of Shreveport.
Of course, you know, I asked you, I said, hey, that's highly unprofessional. They don't know who they contacted, so let me know who they contacted. But anyway, tried to call the plant, contacted the plant, just got voicemail. And so I contacted the administration and the commission clerk's office to try to find something out, because it's just unconscionable that your plant is located in Caddo Parish, city of Shreveport, tax incentive that we've given you. We've even worked prior to the expansion being called during the pandemic. Myself and then Commissioner Jerry Bowman, we met with the staff out there. We stayed in contact with them during the freeze when they didn't have any water. Chief Whitehorn, who was the CEO of the city of Shreveport, he and I worked together to see what we could do to get that water loose, because they was losing 40,000 a day after that plant. Even during the power outage, I made contact with individuals out at the plant. Hey, is your power on? I even had driven by one day, the power was off, the quick trip all up and down that industrial loop there, the lights were out. Had contact with them. And I just found it highly unconscionable that they could do a job fair in Bossier City, and you looking at one entity. There are 11 hotels that's located from Industrial Loop, where GE Prolec is located, to Monkhouse Drive. 11 hotels. We have several large churches with large family life center venues that can host a job fair. We have Turner Elementary Middle School, which can host a large crowd. We have Huntington High School. The Caddo Parish Commission is here. If you couldn't get anything from there, you could contact the administration. During the ribbon cutting ceremony and the announcement of expansion, I made myself available to each and every one out there, and I've made subsequent calls to them. And I still think that they should cancel this job fair, and the first job fair should be in Caddo, Shreveport at some point in time. Ms. Montgomery, can you put those links up? I hadn't seen anything in the Times. I hadn't seen anything in our official journal, the Caddo Citizen. I hadn't seen anything in the Shreveport Sun. I hadn't seen anything on any of the television channels. I don't know if anyone else has. But if we'd open up that first link there, There's the job fair. I think Bossier Tribune, am I correct that one was sent to there? I have no idea where the Bossier Tribune is sold. Then we got another link we opened up. You got a countdown. And today is the 6th. It's the 12th. None of my constituents or anyone in Shreveport that I know of is aware that there will be a job fair. And then you got a third link, I think that's coming from what is LED? Have no idea. Are any of you privy to this communication where we can get this information out to our constituents? Where we worked hard to get the expansion grant, the tax breaks and things of that nature, to have that facility continue to operate in Caddo Parish? And I spoke with someone, oh, we can't cancel. Yeah, you can cancel. I said, what if another year one tornado come through and kill all the power over at the Hilton Garden Inn in Bossier? You can cancel it. It is a slap in the face to the citizens of Caddo Parish, the elected officials, and the taxpayers. It's wrong. There's no reason for that. And I'm not going to tell you some of the things that I've been getting the reason for it. And you can read between the lines, any of you that's listening. That needs to be stopped. The first job fair needs to be in Caddo Parish. And it's wrong, and I'll forever say it's wrong, because we've done too much to try to cooperate with them in whatever their endeavors are in this parish. Thank you.
Commissioner Stephon Jones?
I think Commissioner Epperson gave a lot of my sentiments. Definitely agree with what he's saying. It's just not a good look, ultimately, for our parish when we're not heavily involved. And this is my first time being aware of that particular information that I saw. It's just not, it doesn't work for a good working relationship. And so I think that can be fixed if everyone's willing to fix it. Caddo Parish needs every win we can get right now. And I think that's quite evident. And for something like this to happen, I think is very disappointing. So I'm hoping that this can be changed expeditiously. And, you know, I know some things are not within everybody's control. I know you're speaking on their behalf today. But what we can control, let's control it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Commissioner Atkins?
Thank you, Mr. President. Commissioner Epperson and Commissioner Jones make some very good points. And, I must say that I didn't fully appreciate all the views that were raised around the horseshoe just now until I've just heard you. So I respect y'all's views, and I certainly want to see every effort be made, at least in the future, to have job fairs here locally. However, I would say, you know, we've all been in organizations before, and we all know how sometimes mistakes are made, or someone has panicked about getting a venue in place before an event, and they're nervous and they're, you know, concerned, and so they reach out to the first venue they know can handle their deal, and without thinking about the broader implications of politics and image and communication. So, you know, I hear your points and respect your points, but let's also show some grace and recognize that sometimes mistakes are made. I think we have expressed our concern. I'm sure that Justin will communicate those on our behalf, and you know, we can make amends and move forward in a positive way.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, anyone else from the commission? Justin, as you know, I too expressed my concern about that when it was brought to my attention. I was there for the announcement, and I've had people ask, well, when is the job's going to come? And they hadn't heard anything. And when Commissioner Epperson showed me that, and I didn't see it in any publication, it drew some concerns on my part that we would provide all the incentives but get no information. So if you would pass it on, and you say in November, I'm concerned that by November they would have whomever they need. If the people in Caddo don't know about it, and they are from some, people in other places. I even saw Bowman, Texas, Bohan. I never heard of Bowman, Texas. But wherever it is, it appears that the information is getting out there. Our people do need the jobs, and these are decent jobs for a change. They're not just service jobs. And we have quite a population in Caddo Parish, over 200,000 at least. I know it's a regional, we always talk about regional economic development, but it starts at home.
Totally
Yes.
agree, and I appreciate it. One more thing I would like to add, if that's okay, and this was from their talent development director, that one of the additional hiring fairs that will be held in October, November, it says this will be when they'll be hiring the bulk of the hires. So I heard your concern, and I understand the concern, but it does seem that the bulk of the hiring will not be done until the end of the year.
Anyone? Oh, Commissioner Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Justin, is this part of LED's Fast Start, Fast Lane, one of those programs?
Yes, there was Fast Start
And
that was included in that.
So I guess what you're trying to do at this point is you're trying to, I think one of the goals of Fast Start is to, because I always wondered why they always did the Fast Start recruitment fairs in other places. But Don Pearson told me that the goal is to try to have net population increase to attract people to the areas. And we have had some stagnant populations in Caddo Parish. I am concerned. I do think that I get the ones that are in other places like Beaumont. I don't get the ones like the Bojet situation. So I get where they have to go to other areas to recruit, because we're trying to recruit people to this area. But if there are instances where a company, any company, not just this particular incident, I have a Caddo First mantra, and I always say that we have a parochial perspective up here, because we have to go knock on those doors and tell people. But I get the ones in Texas and things of that nature, because rest assured, Texas are recruiting people from here every day.
Yes, sir.
And we've got to do our part to either try to go get those folks back here or go and capture some new folks so that we can have net population growth. And I believe that is the overall mission of, is it Fast Lane or Fast Start?
Fast Start.
Fast Start is to have that net population growth overall and get people into the area. So whatever balancing act, I think you've committed to doing that balancing act. And if you could just, keep us abreast of what that balancing, how you come to that.
Absolutely.
If we can help you go open those doors, I think you did mention that they reached out to the Hilton or something. If we can help open doors to some of these businesses.
And we've reached out to them and said, hey, call North Louisiana Economic Partnership.
Right.
They did not reach out to us. This was
Right.
them. And so if we have trouble
Right.
in any shape, form, or fashion, come to us. And if we can't figure out, then we will certainly
Right.
come to you all.
'Cause I'm sure the Remington would have been a good fit. There are a number of places. Shrap could have did some. We could have put it in one of the SPAR centers or something. So we're here to help.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And appreciate you for what you do. And, we'll look forward to following up. Thanks, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Justin.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm sorry, just a second, you're right, Commissioner Carlton. Was it? Oh, okay.
He hadn't spoken, if you want to speak.
I know that.
Yeah.
Just real quickly, I think everything that's been stated makes a whole bunch of sense. And the most important thing, as I sit here, not being part initially of the of things that was given to assist this company, it really concerns me, not only as a commissioner, but as a member of this parish in this city, that it's kind of like me taking money from a commissioner here and going somewhere else and spending it in a business that we have here in this city, in this parish. And that makes absolutely no sense. The thing is, again, we could beat this horse till it absolutely falls. But the most important thing, things happen, but things can be corrected. There's nothing under the sun that cannot be corrected in a very quick manner. So the thing is, again, October, November, that's quite some time from now. And the thing is, if I heard Commissioner Epperson correctly, it wasn't so much that Bossier is being considered, but Shreveport was not considered first and foremost. And we are the ones who have given dollars to assist this company, and that's just not fair, regardless of how you choose to look at it. And I promise you, if HR director choose to, they could have a fair next week if they wanted to. Okay, it's not that difficult to do.
Let me correct you. Justin did say that the Hilton was asked, because I asked him to check it out, whoever that hotel was, that we could have gotten involved, and he said it was Hilton. I asked him to bring that information to you to let us know who in Shreveport did not respond, and he did. So I want to clarify that, Commissioner Evans.
We understand that the Hilton was asked. However, the issue is that there are hundreds of other places here when it could have been done. Slow start, fast start, medium start, wherever it emanates from. If a job fair was held in Caddo Parish, it could be publicized the same as it's being publicized at the Hilton Garden Inn in Bossier. North Louisiana Technical College, ideal situation. Plenty of places. Southern University, LSU at Shreveport, many places for a job fair. Mr. Clerk and administration, would you check with GE Prolec? Do they have a corporate office in the United States? I understand that the owners are out of Mexico. Are the owners out of Mexico?
Yes.
Do they have a corporate office in America, in the United States? And if you would see if they have a government relations, most major corporations have a government relation problem. When I spoke with the human resources director over there, he didn't even know where Government Plaza was, didn't know nothing about it. You see what I mean? A major corporation should have a government relations department. And things of this shouldn't come up. Basic 1, 2, 3 common sense. If you're in a parish, they give you incentives. You've been located there for over almost 4 decades. If you're going to expand or do something, you do it at home first. Thank you.
The final thing, Justin, is that since it does not appear in any papers in our area, Bossier across the river naturally, and Bossier Tribune, I'm not sure what size it is, but if you would just pass it on, that we would like to see something over here.
100%. Yes, sir.
Okay, thanks again.
Thank you.
If no reflection on you,
I know.
by the way.
All right.
Okay?
Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate y'all.
Mr. Clerk?
Okay, that brings us now to adopting regular session minutes.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Gage Watt, seconded by Commissioner Jones.
Okay, and would you like me to do a roll call?
Yes, if you
Okay.
would.
Let's see, I'm sorry, Commissioner Hopkins.
Yes.
Okay, Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson.
What we doing?
Roll call for the minutes.
Minutes.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Jackson did arrived after let us know at the beginning of the meeting. We're having to do roll call votes today. There's a building in the place in the building that lost power, and it unfortunately is the place that provides our connection for our meeting management software.
Okay.
So I'm sorry, was that a yay?
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Young.
Yes.
All right, Commissioner Burrell.
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts.
Yes.
And let's see, Commissioner Cothran.
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez is out. And I'm sorry, I skipped Commissioner Atkins.
Yes.
And Commissioner Ad Lazarus.
Yes.
And Commissioner Epperson, I'm sorry.
Yes.
All right, that motion carries with 11 in support and 1 absent. That brings us now to special resolutions. And I believe we have one on to adopt today, but I believe there was one that we were going to present as well.
Okay, let me ask you this, the special resolution for Dr. Wilson, was that passed on last week? Okay, and so basically all we need to do is pull that one forward and do it at this point.
Just read it into the record, I think is
Yes,
what y'all had suggested.
Yes.
You want me to go ahead and do that?
This is already passed.
Oh, yes, this has already been adopted, so
Okay.
if you want, we could invite Dr. Wilson up.
If you would, Dr. Wilson, you come forward, please.
Okay. And this proclamation was presented as part of another service earlier today, but we wanted to go ahead and have it read into the record in honor. This is a special resolution commemorating the service of Dr. Woodrow Wilson Jr. upon his retirement.
Sorry, yeah, please stand. Where is the resolution? You're reading from it, or are you reading from a copy?
I'm reading from a copy.
It's out with the.
I believe he has been presented with the official copy already.
Well, I want to present it.
Okay, we'll get it.
We'll get it.
With that gravy.
We'll get it for you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, a special resolution commemorating the service of Dr. Woodrow Wilson Jr. upon his retirement, and it reads, whereas Dr. Woodrow Woody Wilson Jr. has been an esteemed member of our community, serving with unwavering dedication and commitment as the administrator and CEO of Caddo Parish. And whereas Wilson has announced his retirement, marking the end of an era characterized by his outstanding leadership, tireless efforts, and numerous accomplishments advancing the welfare and prosperity of our beloved parish. And whereas Wilson has demonstrated an exceptional ability to navigate complex challenges and implement innovative solutions, effectively steering Caddo Parish towards progress, growth, and success. And whereas Wilson has been a visionary leader, always placing the needs of the community at the forefront of his decision-making, and striving to create an inclusive, safe, and vibrant environment for all residents of Caddo Parish. And whereas Wilson has been a true advocate for transparency, accountability, and good governance, fostering a culture of integrity and excellence within the organization, and setting an exemplary standard for public service. And whereas Wilson has been an invaluable asset to Caddo Parish, collaborating with various stakeholders, community leaders, and government officials to enhance the quality of life, strengthen local infrastructure, promote economic development, and address the diverse needs of our residents. And whereas Wilson has exhibited remarkable dedication to fostering positive relationships, building bridges, and cultivating partnerships that have furthered the overall progress and prosperity of Caddo Parish. And Wilson has left an indelible mark on our community through his relentless pursuit of excellence, his passion for public service, and his enduring commitment to creating a better future for all who call Caddo Parish home. Now therefore be it resolved that the community, represented by its esteemed members and duly elected officials, extends its deep gratitude and heartfelt appreciation to Dr. Woodrow Woody Wilson Jr. for his exceptional service, remarkable achievements, and unwavering dedication to the betterment of Caddo Parish. And be it further resolved that this resolution be formally documented and conveyed to Woodrow Wilson Jr. as a token of our profound respect, admiration, and gratitude for his immeasurable contributions to our community. Be it finally resolved that a copy of this resolution will be presented to Dr. Woodrow Wilson Jr. as a lasting testament to his remarkable legacy and a symbol of the enduring gratitude of the residents of Caddo Parish, and that is signed by all 12 members of the Caddo Parish Commission.
Well, Dr. Wilson, we had your framed resolution earlier. I don't know what happened to it. Making its way down. But in the meantime, if you would like to make some comments, or those from the dais, Commissioner Johnson.
I yield to Dr. Wilson first. You can make your first comments and then I'll follow.
Good afternoon again, Commissioners. I appreciate the earlier program celebration. I do appreciate that. And I thank you for the resolution recognizing my service for the parish of Caddo. I'm humbly just moving by this whole thing today, and I sincerely appreciate it. Typically, I once made a statement to my commander when I was in the Air Force. I said, they asked me if I want a ceremony when I leave, and I said, no, I don't want one. I came quietly, and I want to leave that way. And they said, come on, Doc, we owe you more than that. So they did extend their appreciation and had a full-blown parade, which I didn't expect, but I did appreciate. Similar today, the program that came forth today was heart-touching, and I felt the sincerity of it all, and I certainly appreciate all what was done for me and recognizing my service. It will be a memorable occasion I'll never forget, and thank you so much for the citizens, for this board. It's been a pleasure working with each one of you all. I learned from each one of you all. And we went through a lot of stuff together, and certainly that helped bond us closer. as I transition, I'm moving away from an employee to being a supporter of you all, as well as a friend of you all. And I will also be praying for you all, your continued success. We still have a long way to go as a community, but you all are off to a very good start, and I pray that you all will return back to these seats too, so you can continue the work that you have started. And thank you so much for the recognition. I appreciate it.
Well, Dr. Wilson, it has been a wonderful 12 and a half years of working with you.
Yes, sir.
I like how you mentor your staff with your meetings, give them opportunity to grow and mature into their jobs. And you also have allowed us as elected officials to develop, the ones that wanted to develop into a person that could serve the citizens of Caddo Parish with the knowledge that you have, that dealing with the day-to-day deals of the parish. One thing that I was listening to as we listened to the resolution is that I would like to have it rewritten, and whereas it says whereas Wilson, that it says whereas Dr. Woodrow Wilson. I think you deserve that. You have earned that. And if people know your story, they definitely would say that that's not me just being petty, but that's something that you have earned over the years. And I don't want to shortchange you on nothing like that, especially on that when we can easily redo it and replace and put in Dr. Woodrow Wilson.
I appreciate that, sir.
And I just think it sounds better and feels better than to just say Wilson, whereas Wilson. I kept hearing it, and it kept just stabbing me in the side. So I would rather see it be redone and say whereas Dr. Woodrow Wilson Jr. on each one of those whereas before we actually hand it to him officially.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
We're gonna take a picture with it.
Yeah, that's fine.
Well, we all gonna take a picture with it, not just you.
No, I'm saying here, I'm gonna present it to him, we'll take a picture here first.
No, we all gonna take a picture.
Well, come on down there.
I can go make that change real quick.
Just do it after.
Okay.
Get in the middle.
Thank you, brother.
They said we do it afterwards. That's fine. But he ain't gonna super up all the gravy. Yes, Commissioner.
Make the changes after.
He gonna stay here till after the meeting.
No, make the changes after.
Doc, you gonna stay here till after the meeting?
No, we need to take our picture.
What's next? Everybody take a group picture?
I'm gonna wait on y'all.
I got to be dressed up.
Why you just can't walk up here?
I'm down here now.
We just want a big family, right?
Yeah, we squabbled. We still family.
You and John Paul need to be down front. Some of the other guys come on back there.
Come down here.
Here we go.
Put the tall guys in the back.
Just wanted to tell you, Woody, you know, we lit the bridge up for you on the 4th.
Okay.
And fireworks, but you didn't make it.
That's what it was. Yes, sir. Thank you all. Appreciate it. Yes, sir. Thank you.
We must have set our piece already.
I get my point across.
Is he still coming to work? Is he on the clock? Don't want to get them fired on the day off.
Consulting.
Don't want to get them fired on the day off.
Next item?
Where's the clerk?
Go next item?
He retyped.
Are you running this with me?
I'm just saying, we ain't gotta wait on him.
Well,
You as president.
where's
say
the
next item.
clerk? Is that you just out? Here he is. Patience.
What's that?
Patience is a virtue. Mr. Clerk, I think we're down to our next resolution.
Sorry. Let me just. That brings us to a special resolution for Dr. Glenelle Lee Pruitt.
Well, she isn't here, so I don't think we need to read it. Well, we need to read it into record.
So,
Okay. I make the motion to approve this. Okay, and second by Commissioner Young.
Mr. President,
We can
do
vote.
you want to read it another time to bring her down at another time?
We can do that because I don't think we made her aware that she was supposed to be down here today.
no, I thought that it was presented off-site.
Well, we did present it off-site.
Okay.
Yeah,
So you
so
just
I-
want
it's already been presented.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Clerk, we can go to the next
Okay,
item.
Commissioner Hopkins.
Sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. We have to vote on it.
I'm sorry.
We didn't vote on it.
That's what I was asking. Did we have a motion and second?
Yes.
Okay.
Motion by myself and second by Commissioner Young.
Okay, Commissioner Hopkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts,
Yes.
Commissioner Coughlin,
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez, Commissioner Lazarus,
Yes.
Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries with 11 in support, none in opposition. And that brings us now to communiques and committee reports, where you do have administration response to information requests from commissioners, and I believe the administration does have a report.
Okay, if you would, are there any commissioners who'd like to speak, comment? Oh, administrative report. Madam Administrator?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Just want to remind you all, I know all of you all know about the food distribution this weekend at various sites. We have been advertising that, have been conducting interviews, and so we're looking forward to assisting the citizens this weekend. Also, just want to update you about the debris removal. Our crews have been out removing debris, but as you know, it's a lot. So we have requested proposals, and we've gotten those in today, and we should be working to sign a contract with a service to help us with the debris removal. Just a reminder to the citizens, they need to get the debris to the street, and this is for the unincorporated areas, to get the debris to the end of the driveway, the street, and we will remove that debris. We are working hard to get it all removed, but it will take some time to complete the process. Also, wanted to bring Mr. Alan Clark forward. He had some words he wanted to say to the commission.
Mr. Clark?
Thank you, Madam Administrator, and to the President. June was not a very good month for me, and I went through a series of many emotions, and I'm still trying to recover from those emotions, but the reason that I wanted to come before you is that during my darkest hours, I felt the love, the care, the compassion, and the support of the Caddo Parish Commission and the Caddo Parish administration, the offices. And I just wanted to just come for just a second and say thank you so much. That is the reason that I love this job so much. That is the reason that I get up every morning believing that I can do something that would encourage change and encourage improvement. But more than anything else, I just wanted to share with you that I love you very much and thank you so much.
Okay. Alan, we also, from the commission, extend our condolences to the loss of your wife. And I want you to know that it was a very beautiful service, and you had a lot of people there supporting you, a lot of people. So again, you have our condolences. Thank you.
That
Madam
concludes
Administrator?
That concludes administration.
Okay, commissioners, Commissioner Evans?
This is a request of the administration. Madam Administrator, you, I mentioned about contacting the Government Relations Department from COLAC, if you would do that. And also, Mr. Clerk, the copy of the letter that Mr. Dixon read, did we get a copy of it?
I've not yet received it, but I will request, yeah.
Is he gone? He
Yes.
gone? Okay,
Yes,
I
sir.
thought he might have paid. So would you get a copy of that and put it into the official records, please, and send me a copy?
I will.
Also. Also, Madam Administrator, and I hope it will be under your purview. You know, we deal with the Louisiana Economic Development out of Baton Rouge, North Louisiana Economic Partnership, the Industrial Development Board. Could you please craft a letter to them stating that any time that we have an entity that's locating within this parish, as far as economic development, job creation, anything of this nature, that they would please check with the commission if they're going to set up a job fair or any kind of public relations relative to those particular entities. And we are here for them at any problem that they may encounter to help them overcome those odds, because a lot of people don't really understand. Some people they don't know the difference between the city council and the commission. Don't know the school board. All of these things, these are entities that we know once we give them those rebates, those are tax dollars that comes from the school board, commission, all of those things. So they need to educate themselves so we won't have situations like this. That's a minor technicality. That should not happen. That should not have happened. So are you understanding what I'm saying? So no one will have the opportunity to say, if we're getting a new venture up in Vivian, aren't they getting a new job plaza, a truck stop or something? You know, if you're gonna hold a job fair for that, hey, hold it around Vivian, hold it in Caddo Parish. Okay? That's all I have, but I still would like to be on the board on the communiques after this.
Okay, we're now on communique from the commission.
I got one more.
Commissioner Todd Hopkins.
Madam Administrator, I can't get used to saying that. We've known each other so long. It's kind of. Will they send a new updated list out, flyer on the?
Yes, yes, sir. We have it. I will get it to you.
On the what?
Okay.
Flyer on the
We've
On the
added,
giveaway that we didn't have one of our sites on there because we didn't have it locked in yet, but it's locked in, and so.
About the
Yes.
food distribution site?
Yes.
yes, we always had North Caddo Parish on the list, but at the time we submitted the flyer, we didn't have the location ironed out, but we have since ironed out that location, so we will have a distribution site also at the Christian Corner Church at 10:30.
Which is
We-
a
we did-
morning sport.
Okay, we didn't relate the sites to the districts, did we?
No, we tried to make sure we covered the parish, and
Okay.
so that end of the parish did not have the site.
Okay.
No,
All
we
right.
can't do by district, we just try to cover the parish.
Commissioner Jackson?
Yeah, I think we did talk, and I know we didn't do them by district, and we have discussed that I think the one at Bilberry will not be had. And so I think that I'll have a lot of more traffic flow over at Galilee. So if y'all could just let Ms. Martha know that we anticipate heavy traffic. I'm sure everybody will have heavy traffic flow, but I imagine looking at that list, Galilee is closest to that Bilberry site. So
I was
just
gonna state that in the
FYI on
president's
that.
report.
And I got you. Thank you.
Anyone else? If not, okay. I guess Mr. Clerk?
Oh, wait a minute. I thought this was administration. I want to be on reports.
Okay, all right. I'd ask for the commissioners after that.
Oh, you already asked?
No. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Pines Road Area Business Association, in conjunction with the Grace Point Church of the Nazarene, 6825 Pines Road, will be holding our annual fan drive. If there's ever a need for those fans now, it's this year, coming after the storm. Utility bills are out of the sky, and a lot of seniors in the needed. The fan makes a great difference to them. Our goal this year is 150 fans. If you would like to help us in this drive, it will culminate July the 15th. You can drop it off at 6825 Pines Road, 6825 Pines Road, Church of the Grace Point Church of the Nazarene, and you can call 510-0166. Please help us be a blessing to the needy. Foster Campbell, the Public Service Commissioner, will be my special guest on a special teleconference call on Thursday, July the 13th, 8 o'clock a.m. We'll be speaking about the after effects of the storm as it relates to utility issues and things of that nature that's under his purview as the Public Service Commissioner. The dial-in number is area code 720-843-2847, access code 551-7232. It's open to anyone, and we'll discuss the issues relative to the after effects of the storm as it relates to things under the purview of our Public Service Commissioner. Food distribution in the West Shreveport, West Caddo area will be this Saturday, July the 8th, 10:30 a.m. until 1:30 p.m. at the Greenwood Acres Missionary Baptist Church, 7540 Greenwood Road. First come, first serve. The Freedom Fest that was held down at the riverfront, that was sponsored by KTBS Channel 3, the Caddo Parish Commission, the Bossier Parish Police Jury, City of Shreveport, was a tremendous success. This year they had a new issue. They honored our military as well as our veterans. We appreciate our President, Commissioner Burrell. We appreciate Stephen Jackson, Stephon Jones, Ron Cartran, and myself, and we even had the assistant administrator out there sweating out her new hairdo. So we broke her in by fire, but it was a beautiful occasion, and hopefully next year will be even better. Good family entertainment, everything went along smooth. And Pam Atkinson and myself, I had a chance to be with her. You know, I usually always tease her. I say, Pam, the only time you want to talk to me when you're looking for money. So I put her to work this time. So I made her sergeant major in my army. So we had a good time. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Epperson. Any other commissioner? Commissioner Jackson.
Yes, thank you. Commissioner Epperson, I'd be interested to know what kind of soldier Pam Atchison is.
Pardon?
I'd be interested to know what kind of soldier Pam Atchison is.
I'm gonna have to see if she can drop and give me 100.
She was, let me just say, she was down at the Juneteenth. She was down at the Juneteenth festival looking for Juvenile, and was ready for a little boosted. So, and I saw it with my own eyes. So,
One thing about it, you had her sweating.
Yeah, she was sweating.
But thank you for the invite to be a part of that event, Commissioner Epperson. It was a great day for Caddo Parish. I do want to announce, and Jeff, if we could go ahead and schedule juvenile service or juvenile justice, I can't even remember the name, juvenile committee on looking at next Thursday. If you could pool the schedules to see if lunch or what time would be good for everybody, but if the noon hour works, that's fine. I'll make myself flexible to the will of the committee. Also want to, I think we had an asterisk to discuss the double bunking issue or the emergency plan for when we are at capacity. And I think we were looking at a period of time in which we were going to get back to the committee, and I think we're coming up on that. So if we could be prepared to come with something, either let's do this or let's do that. But we have a functional problem at the juvenile jail when we're at capacity, and it's not an everyday thing, but these are episodic issues, and I think we should be about the business of listening to our judges, listening to our law enforcement officials, and the onus is on us to come up with some level of contingency plan. And so if we could look at something. Also, just want to remind us, I don't know who we tasked with getting that information to those entities, the school board and the city of Shreveport, about their appointments to the Children, Youth, and Planning Board. So I'm not sure if that's going to be an administrative task, or if that's going to be a clerk task, or a combination of the two. So if we could make sure that we're ready to at least be updated or follow up on that for that juvenile meeting, any other matters that may come before the committee. But I just want to go ahead and put that out there on the record. Next Thursday, I believe that is the 13th. Also, looking forward to our food distribution this weekend. Do have one question that just came in my head is, are we asking for residency requirements? Are we asking people to prove that they stay in Caddo, or do y'all want to just get offline and talk about that?
Yes.
Okay.
Determine how we can do that, but
Okay.
they're supposed to be calculated.
Okay, because I can see people hopping over from Texas to Todd, and people jumping over from Bossier to myself and Southern. And, you know, they always claim Bossier's better. No offense to anybody from
They come to our groceries, we're gonna fight.
But, you know, I just want to make sure that we're taking care of Caddo. We're taking care of Caddo, and they'll come, well, they probably too rich out in Stonewall to come up to Keyville. But I want to make sure that Caddo folks are taken care of with Caddo dollars. And so if there's a way in which we can do that that's not too cumbersome, please let's adhere to that. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, Commissioner Young.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mrs. Bryant, how many people are we hoping to distribute food to at each site per district, roughly, if we're going to encourage people to come?
I'm not sure of the total number of kits, food distribution items that that the food bank has acquired. It is several thousand, so there'll be several hundred at each site.
Okay,
Mhm.
thank you.
Commissioner Carlton.
Yes, I had a very quick question in reference to the 3.5 millage. What's going on? Is it flowing right now? Is everything moving?
The millage for the election. We had to get state bond approval. We did receive state bond approval, and so we had to wait on that in order to start any communications.
Okay.
That has happened, and so we are meeting to plan how we can formulate our informative, the information that we'll provide to the citizens to inform them. As you know, we can only inform, we can't advocate.
Correct. And one other thing I would like to say, I would just like to compliment Commissioner Epperson on the magnificent
Freedom Fest.
Freedom Fest, okay. It was outstanding, in particular the number of veterans that came up from all branches of service throughout the city. And the thing is, again, it was really amazing talking to them, and particularly all those hoods that I know. Y'all don't know what that means, but okay. Particularly the airborne and things of this nature. But the thing is, again, is I think every citizen, in particular those that have served in the military, Independence Day means a lot. And I also thought I would just like to say, granddaughter that sung that national anthem was awesome. And every time I hear it, because I don't know what happens, but something kind of runs through me, because it means different things to different people. And like I said, because having stood there and seen some things happen throughout my life, it's very important to hear it. And she did an outstanding job. And most people do not know that's one of the most difficult songs to sing.
Thank you.
Okay, that's it. Any other commission before we move on?
If not, then we're at President's report.
Okay. On my report again, I'm just going to reiterate too that Ken, you did an excellent job. It was a wonderful event, and there were some proud people that was out there, and it went off without a hitch, and we can only salute you. The second thing on the food distribution, I just wanted to say I'll be out of the country for this coming weekend or this week, and for many of my constituents who would be looking for food, who actually had food loss. We're merging my district with Commissioner Jackson up at Galilee Baptist Church, and my food supply will be joined with his at that point. And for those persons who are living in the area of Queensboro, Country Club, Ingleside, Sunset Acres, Warner Park, Highland Park near LSU, then you may go to Galilee Baptist Church. Normally we would have it at Billsbury Park or at Independence Stadium, but I understand that we will not have that there because we would need volunteers, and I don't have volunteers. I will not be here. So again, I just want to make that as a public announcement. Okay, that's it. Mr. Clerk.
All right, that brings us to a public hearing on zoning ordinances and cases, where you have 2 items for public hearing under this section. Both, I believe, have a number of people here to speak. So we will start with the first one. It's a public hearing for ordinance 6337 of 2023. That's related to Parish zoning case number 22-37-P. And that is an ordinance to amend Volume 2 of the Code of Ordinances of the Parish of Caddo as amended, the Caddo Parish Unified Development Code, by amending the zoning of property located on the west side of Wallace Lake Road, approximately 780 feet south of Overton Brooks Road in Caddo Parish, Louisiana, from RA Rural Agricultural Zoning District to RA PUD, a Rural Agricultural Planned Unit Development Zoning District, and otherwise provide with respect thereto. This case is in District 9, and I believe you do have a number of requests to speak regarding this.
Okay, the floor is now open for a public hearing on ordinance 6337. All those persons who want to vote, want to speak for or against can come up. Know that you'll have 15 minutes. 15
minutes per side.
Per side. And if there's more than one person to speak on that side, you need to split that 15 minutes up. So at this time, we will be calling on Mr. John Lord. I think you're speaking for this zoning proposal. Welcome, Mr. Lord.
Good afternoon. I'm sorry for being slow.
It's okay. Take your time.
I had a double knee replacement 2 weeks ago today. So I get around a little bit more than what my age really is, but I appreciate the opportunity to be here, Mr. Cawthorn, Mr. Jefferson, and any other on the council that served our country. I want to say thank you for it.
Thank you.
At this time that we honor you, and I appreciate your service. I want to talk a little bit about the case. I know you've heard everything because we went through this a few weeks ago. The case was heard several times by the MPC. We've had numerous meetings, and the MPC voted to allow this. Tell you a little bit about my client. I represent both sides. And of course, Mr. Alvis, most people know him from Silver Star Steakhouse, and is a strong supporter of business and hiring and employing people in our community. Then we have Mr. Sean Pendleton, who has an electrical company who is wanting to build the facility on this particular property. You're probably going to hear a lot from the other side about spot zoning and businesses don't need to be there and things of that nature. I know personally from my experience, so there's over 50 years of experience. with Wallace Lake Road that there's always been businesses. It's always been a mixed use. And this is not about spot zoning. This is about legal, proper zoning. You have been given businesses, I've given you that information, I think, of businesses along Wallace Lake Road. There's some on Overton Brooks. That came up to play. Most of the people that's going to be in opposition are recruited people outside the 15-foot required area. Last meeting we had, it came up about Wallace Lake Road, Overton Brooks Road. First facility on the left as you go east on Overton Brooks, you see a home business there. Adjacent to the subject property, there's two different businesses that have been there for years, but haven't been zoned properly. And so this is not about spot zoning. This is about proper legal zoning. My client, Mr. Pendleton, has done every single thing that the MPC asked. We have gone over and above board. He's added 6 figures to his construction just to be in compliant and do the right thing, be zoned the right way, and be zoned properly and legally and honestly. So we would ask that you approve that. You have the businesses, hopefully, and even some of the houses that are not businesses that are in disarray. One of the arguments has been that it's going to lower our property values. So the MPC asked us, would we be willing to pay for an appraiser to give us a professional opinion? So we had not only an appraiser, but he's also a real estate broker, very up on the market, Mr. Grayson Butcher, or Councilman Grayson Butcher, that did a great survey or study, and he concluded absolutely not. And so this is more about don't do as I do, but do as I say, because we have the naysayers that are saying, I don't want this next door, I don't want this close to me, and yet they're doing the same thing. And so let's move Caddo forward. We need the tax dollars in Caddo. We're looking at a company that will employ over 200 people. They won't be coming to that spot. They're job site dispatch, so I want to make sure you understand that. Willen has done everything, and the engineer is going to speak to that, everything above and beyond what we have asked. This should be a simple decision, I think, in the fact that there are so many businesses up and down Wallace Lake Road. There's one at the south entrance of Southern Trace. That was there before Southern Trace and before they put the south entrance. Hasn't affected them one bit. We go all the way down to the largest and well-respected construction company, Mr. Whitaker, who's on Wallace Lake Road. You come out at Mayo Road, there's a trucking company there that has a salvage yard. You come on down to 1/8 of a mile from this property where it intersects with Overton Brooks. There's a contractor that stores all of his stuff, houses his people in very, very poor conditions in housing there. So we ask that you allow Mr. Pendleton to do what he needs to do to advance his business, and also keep in mind he's doing it the right way. He's doing it your way. He's doing everything that he's been asked, and that's what we want in Caddo Parish, not bootlegging, hiding behind the mailbox type businesses. We need businesses that are upfront, honest, and operating properly. Thank you so much. Any questions that I might could answer? I'm sorry.
No, sir. Who would you like to call up next? I think you got eight minutes left.
Yes, I'd like to call our engineer up, and then Mr. David Alvis come up.
Mr. Alvis?
And thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity to address.
State your name for the record, Mr.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Commissioners. I'm Michael Kelsch with Rayleigh and Associates, 4913 Shed Road, Bossier City, Louisiana, 71111. I'm the engineer representing Mr. Pendleton on this project. I'd first just like to say we've come a long way. It's been a long journey. I think we started this application, it was either November or December of last year, and so we're on month 8 or 9 of meetings and trying to get this thing figured out, and I appreciate everybody's patience on both sides. It's been a long time coming to get to this meeting. And in that time, we've had, like Mr. Lord said, several meetings. We've had actually 2 neighborhood participation meetings. One of them, only one resident showed up, and he wasn't in opposition. He was just curious on what we were doing. I don't know if the MPC didn't get the message out for that meeting or not, but so then we had another meeting at Mr. Lorick's office with Commissioner Atkins present, and to discuss the project, and we brought forth the site plan and the building elevations at that point. And I think it was safe to say, Commissioner Atkins, we didn't get very far with that meeting. There was a lot of hostile on both sides, but nonetheless, we've met with the MPC, we've had PAC meetings, we've had meetings with the residents, and our client has pretty much done everything that has done everything that's been asked. I just wanted to reiterate some of those things that he has done. He's agreed to brick the entire front and sides of the building, and that's a lot of brick. I mean, that's thousands and thousands of dollars of brick on this type of building. He's agreed to put a porch out front. He's agreed to a gable roof. He's agreed to shutters on the windows. He's agreed to no lighting, no parking lighting, just building building lighting that looks like lanterns. All this to try to make it look residential for the surrounding area. He's also agreed to push the building setback back to about 300 feet. He's agreed to move the employee parking to the rear so that there's not much parking up front. He's agreed to landscaping above and beyond the ordinance. He's agreed to an 8-foot fence surrounding the site to kind of, try to cover up anything possible that may be outside, even though his business is the majority. All of the work will be done away from this facility, and if anything that's done at the facility will be indoors. And so, I mean, all of this is, a lot of this is above and beyond what the ordinance requires, and as Mr. Lord said, it adds upwards of 6 figures to the construction price of this project. And so I just wanted to reiterate that. I may be forgetting some things that he's agreed upon, but it's all in the minutes, and I think I mentioned some of it at the last meeting. But yeah, that's all I got. Thank y'all.
Okay, Mr. Kelch, who else you like to? You got 4 minutes.
The property owner, Mr. David Alvis.
Okay, Mr. Alvis. Mr. Alvis, you have about 4 minutes, 42 seconds.
Yes, sir, thank you. Good afternoon, David Alvis. Just want to come up and talk about this a little bit. I've obviously got a piece of land that I'd like to sell and need to sell. And I got to tell you, I commend what you guys and ladies do here. I mean, it's been very, I've just never seen anything like it. Y'all have to deal with this all the time, and I'm amazed at it. You just do a remarkable job, and y'all do this on a weekly, I guess almost daily basis. I'm 59 years old and been in business in Caddo Parish and Shreveport for 26 years. I've never been to one of these meetings until when we started this 8 months ago. So
welcome.
So anyway, and I'm glad. I guess I'm glad I hadn't been here. But anyway, just, I've got this piece of land I want to sell. Sean has gone over and above to build this building. They keep saying the 6 figures. He's added an additional 6 figures after he was requested to do the things. He's spending right at $1.2 million on the whole property. I mean, it's a really, really nice building. I drive up and down Wallace Lake Road every day. And as we said, there's just a mixed match of everything there. And there are people there in business. There's small businesses, there's large businesses, there's lots of different things going on Wallace Lake Road. You know, it was out in the country forever, but now it's a really high traffic area to the point they've redone the road in the last year or so. But it's just a lot of different things going on that road, and in the future we're going to see even more going. You know, I believe the other side said that why couldn't they put it up on, you know, Southern Loop? You know, we all would love to have a business up on Southern Loop if we could afford it, you know. So this place makes sense for him. Obviously, it makes a lot of sense to me. I want to sell the property. So we just I think they presented everything. It's been a long 8 or 9, 10 months. And I hope you guys will look at all of it. You know, I think we presented a lot of information, a lot of pictures, a lot of different things going on there. And really, from my standpoint, I'm not the guy putting the business in there. I'm just the guy selling the land. You know, so I'd hope you'd consider letting him put his wonderful business in there. He's investing a lot of money into the parish, and that's really about all I have.
Okay, well, you got 2 minutes and 13 seconds.
All right. Well, I do want to say, since I have a minute, thank you to the veterans. I'm so respectful. Mr. Epperson, when my father-in-law passed away 7 years ago unexpectedly, and we buried him out at the cemetery that you were overseeing that, and what a remarkable job you did there when we had to unfortunately be out there to visit. So I respect that, and thought I'd add that. And then the young lady that did the wonderful job of singing the national anthem happens to be one of my friends and one of my great employees. So I just want to give her props also, and good job, Todd. So thank you so much, Commissioners.
There's a Johnny Bridges. You got 1 minute, 31 seconds. Johnny Bridges.
I think that's all.
That's it? Okay. All right. We will now turn to those. Well, look like I only have one on this one. Mr. Jerome Nichols. Mr. Nichols, you have 15 minutes.
Hi, how are you? I'm Jerome Nicholas, and I'm to respect your time. We tried to collect all of our input and condense it, put it together. So I'm sort of the spokesman for several of these people. If y'all raise your hands if you're in opposition to this.
Okay.
I'd like to point out that we have submitted a letter to the MPC in which we had about 20 signatures of people in opposition. We also have the people of the Grove, which is a subdivision in the area. They have 27 houses now, I believe, and 2 under construction. And the Grove has come out also in opposition to this. So that's almost 50 people that we were able to contact, and they expressed their opposition to this. So, that may not be important to you, but that looks like a lot of opposition to me. And again, we're not able to contact everybody, and a lot of people work, and they're not able to be here. But we have substantial opposition. And the funny thing about that opposition is that these are all people who live right there, okay? So I have a little map here that shows the location, the proposed location. There it is. Okay. All right. So here's the location of the site in question right here. And the opposition letters come from those people who are all located within these green areas here and here. and this is also the Grove right here. So you can see all of the opposition is coming from people who will have to live with this and put up with this. Let me give you some orientation here. This is Southern Loop down here. This is Wallace Lake Road, I-49. It's Flournoy Lucas Road right here, Mayo Road up here, or down here, and Burt Coons right here. Now, it just seems to me that every time we have this discussion, our understanding of our neighborhood is mischaracterized. We're always hear the statement, oh, there's commercial all up and down Wallace Lake Road. Well, that is simply a distortion of the truth. Right here, you'll see that at Burt Coons, there's commercial development right there. 2 miles to the south of the intersection of Southern Loop here is the other commercial development that Mr. Lorick spoke of. So that's 2 miles from here to there and another 2 miles south. So those really don't have an impact. They're not in the neighborhood that we're talking about. We're talking about this area right here and how this site affects that. Mr. Lorick pointed out that there is an exception. If you notice the key here, all of these green areas are residential areas. The yellow is undeveloped, and the orange is existing commercial. Now, this is the exception right here, the Wicker construction that apparently was grandfathered in several years ago. Other than that, you have residential and undeveloped areas, with the exception of there's a little church right here and a little cemetery right here. So all of that is residential, and as the MPC staff report points out, the undeveloped areas are trending towards residential. So we submitted this letter to y'all and pointed out some of the reasons for our opposition. One being incompatible use in the residential area, increased traffic congestion, loss of neighborhood character, decrease in market value of our homes, opens the door to more commercial zoning in our neighborhood, increased crime threat, light pollution, noise pollution, and visual intrusion. So through our discussions on all of these meetings that we've been to, we realize that you don't live there, so you don't know what the neighborhood is like. It is a residential neighborhood. I've been living there for 25 years, and for the past 30 years it's trended towards residential. And in fact, if you look at the staff report from the MPC, it points out that the trend is residential. It also points out that this original application was for C4 commercial zoning, which is heavy industrial. So that is a use by right of for this type of business. Well, apparently somehow that was reduced back down, suggested to be reduced to C1, and then and C1 is a zoning designation that is supposed to serve the neighborhood. It's supposed to be things like offices or personal service establishments that serve the neighborhoods. And you can't tell me that a lighting contractor is going to serve this neighborhood. That's not the intent of C1. So it's really a C4 use, okay? Heavy commercial. The Planning Commission, in an attempt to show, I guess, the owners a way that they could possibly slide this in, classified it as a RA PUD, okay? So you're changing the label, but the use is the same, okay? It's still an intrusion of heavy commercial into a residential area. And so that's why we object to it. You can't change that fact. Despite the fact that they have made concessions as far as the brick on the building, landscape, those type of things, you're still inserting a heavy commercial use into this residential area. And the staff report also points out that this C4 doesn't serve the needs of the neighborhood. It asks the question, is this proposal consistent with the master plan? And their answer to that was that the rezoning to commercial would be against those recommendations. It also says, it asks the question, does this benefit Caddo Parish as a whole? So that if there was a situation like that, you could make an exception. If it's going to benefit the whole parish, then you might make an exception to the zoning. But their answer to that was no, there is no benefit to the parish, okay? Also, they point out the Great Expectations Master Plan. That master plan encourages use for this area as rural and nature-related uses such as agricultural, single-family houses on large lots, nature recreation, schools, and churches. And states that given the land use trends in the vicinity, this property is still viable as a residential area. So come on, you have every directive that's good planning from the Planning Commission itself that says don't put commercial in here. And so what has happened? You have these mischaracterizations that, oh, there's commercial all up and down Wallace Lake Road. Well, that is simply not true. It's a distortion of the truth. You have this one up here, 2 miles away. You have this exception, which shouldn't have been there in the first place. And you have this one south of the area shown on the map that's also 2 miles away. And then what has Mr. Lorick has classified as commercial existing in this area, that is a total mischaracterization. Let me ask you this. Do you know of anybody who has a business and their wife keeps the books at their house and that's the only activity related to the business? I'm sure you know of somebody in the parish who has that same situation. And that's what's going on here. Mr. Thornton is a contractor, and he has his yard down in Frierson, and his wife keeps the books at the house. And that's located right here next to the site in question. And so you can't tell me that that's anything close to what Caddo Electric is proposing. They're proposing to put a 12,000 square foot building in this area. All the other structures, they say, oh, there's metal structures in this area already. Yeah, there's some garages or residential shops that people are using for their homes, and some of those are metal buildings, but those are 700 square feet at most, and that is this 12,000 square foot building is 18 times the size of one of those little garages. So this is a massive, gross intrusion in our residential area that's totally out of scale. You're trying to put a Band-Aid on top of it, but it's still an intrusion into our residential area. And so we have tried and tried and tried to get you to see this, but every time we do that, it's mischaracterized as a junky old mixed-use area. And that is not the case. This is a residential area. You have $300,000 and $400,000 homes in the Grove, and you also have $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 houses in these areas. So why are you doing this to us? We can't understand that at all. Mr. Lorick says, oh, we need the tax base. Well, I agree with that. We need the tax base. But we also need good neighborhoods where people want to live. And so there's plenty of commercial corridor down here on Southern Loop, and there's commercial up here on Burt Coons. So why not build in an orderly fashion and put those commercial uses in areas that are already trending commercial? Why come in and destroy the neighborhood with this? As I said, we have the Grove, about 20 to 30 homes there, and 20 or so people on this letter that we submitted to you. All of these people are in this area immediately adjacent to the property in question. So you have about 50 people opposed to this. And is that the way democracy works? I know you have land rights, but listen, this is serious opposition, and it's poor planning. If you want to have a good place, y'all talked about bringing in other people from out of town, increasing our population. If you want to have people to want to come move here, then you need to have orderly development, and this is chaos. You're asking us to accept that you're going to put a 12,000 square foot metal building in our residential neighborhood. So we are just totally baffled that this has come this far, because it is, as Mr. Lorick said, spot zoning. It doesn't belong there at all. I think I better wrap it up before my blood pressure goes too high.
1 second.
Anything else? Did I miss anything?
I think you've done a thorough job, Mr. Nicholas.
Well, I hope, I hate to get all wound up about this, but that's where I live, okay? And I want you all to ask yourselves, would I want this next to me? And it's a residential area, so there's just no precedent for putting this massive building in our neighborhood. Any questions? All right, thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Mr. President?
Yes, sir.
A question, an inquiry to you.
Commissioner Atkins?
I'd like to hear what MPC Director Clark, what his views are on this. Do we take that now, or do we take it during?
I would assume we can do it now.
Okay. Mr. Clark, could you please give us the views of the Parish Zoning Commission and the MPC?
Yes, sir. As you've noticed, we have gone probably about 3 or 4 months in our review of this case. We felt that the C4 zoning was too impactful, and so that the Caddo Parish Planning and Zoning Commission, and that's why we came up with the idea of, and the Caddo Parish Planning and Zoning Commission, of developing a PUD, a planned unit development, so that we could mitigate many of the negative impacts that a commercial development would have in a primary residential area. This is not spot zoning because they have removed, they will have no C4 rights on this particular property. They will have no C1 rights on this particular property. All they will have are the things that have been approved or recommended by the Caddo Parish Planning and Zoning Commission, and they were pretty stringent. They were very insistent on them making this building appear residential in character. It has to, before we actually approve the building, it must have an architect seal certifying that it has met all the desires and requirements that the Caddo Parish Planning and Zoning Commission has for it. They have dealt with setting the building back 300 feet, that's a football field, and it will not be visible from the street. They have extensive landscaping. This is not what general contractors' offices generally look like. But because this was placed in a residential area, they did everything humanly possible to ensure that this building maintained the residential character of the area. I think that the board just took into account, Mr. Atkins, everything possible. There was concerns about whether or not this development would lower the property values or have negative impacts on the residential properties in the area. I have long wanted there to be a requirement that when these type situations come up, that we would get an appraiser to do a objective assessment of what impact development would have in particular areas. This individual developer voluntarily did that to address whether or not there would be negative impacts on the surrounding properties if this development was approved. And the appraiser determined that there would not be negative impacts on the surrounding properties, that if anything, and we found this, and you might agree with this at some point, when you have new buildings, when you have new development, when you have more expensive development, generally that increases the property value, not decrease the property value. So we will examine this particular development very carefully, and we have no objections or pushback at all from the developers, and make sure that this is a very attractive development, that this development actually blends in with the residential character in that particular area. We've been out there a couple of times ourselves. We think that the planned unit development concept is a concept, but you have to have an open mind. But the planned unit development concept is the best way to ensure that development can occur, but it's not at the expense of the residents in the particular area. One of the things about zoning law, and I'll sit down, Mr. Atkins, but one of the things about zoning law that we get caught up in, unfortunately, is that if we get opposition, we think that that means that this is not an acceptable idea. We examine all of the aspects of the development, and sometimes people come before you with opposition that's not real opposition, that's not even legitimate opposition. But because they come before you, many times you buy into it. But zoning law protects the integrity of residential areas. That's the primary purpose of zoning. It protects residents from the intrusiveness of commercial and industrial uses. So we have the tools available to us to ensure that these things are protected.
Commissioner Jackson. Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Atkins first, since you would want to actually.
Thank you. Commissioner Clark, or pardon me, Mr. Clark, what do you mean when you say sometimes you have opposition, but it's not real opposition?
Well, any time that change occurs, in a lot of instances, people, by just ordinary
human
nature, find opposition because they don't want change to occur. I just share with this commission, the reason that you are not part of the Metropolitan Planning Commission any longer is because MPC, the master plan, the UDC were too restrictive on the ability of individuals to develop their property. That's why we're no longer here. So, you have to finally come up with, what do you want? Do you want, development to occur? Do you want property rights to be expounded, or do you want restrictive zoning? We can implement with the UDC very restrictive zoning, but that's not what we heard from the citizens of Caddo Parish.
Thank you. That's all I have, Mr. President. Thank you.
Commissioner Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. Clark.
Thank you.
took the word, some of it, right out of my mouth. Because I never miss an opportunity when we have these zoning cases to point out that a couple years ago, his chamber was filled, meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting, with folks saying, we don't want the UDC. It's too hard, and the MPC is making it too hard. And I think some of the people who came down, I see sitting in here today using it to their advantage, whether you're for or against this particular issue. What you are doing today, and I don't have a question for you, Mr. Clark, but what you are doing today is you are validating the fact that having a planning document helps. Whether you are for this particular project or whether you're against it, without the planning document, you wouldn't have the ability to come down here and be a part of this exercise. And that's what I want folks to understand, is when people get folks all riled up about something, particularly when it comes to a planning document that we spent years and hundreds of thousands or maybe millions, millions of dollars paying for, and to just say, oh, we want to do away with that. You would be doing away with what we're here doing today, right?
Absolutely.
You wouldn't have this ability, again, whether you're for or against, you would not have this ability. Then they come back and say, well, we just want to get rid of the metropolitan, we want to get rid of planning altogether in the parish. We don't want no planning. And so who, I mean, just go put his building up at that point. And then I guess you come with your shovel and take it down. And then we back to the Wild Wild West at this point. You know, so I've always said I appreciate the role the MPC plays, because you all have to take an independent position, and you are in a position to advise us and to keep us out of trouble. And a lot of times, you know, we are parochial, and so we respond to the issues of our constituents, but the courts have told us that's not the way it goes, because that's not the way the laws in the state of Louisiana are written.
Absolutely.
And they particularly told the city of Shreveport that that's not the way it works.
In many lawsuits.
In many lawsuits that they lost. So I think we should always be mindful when people get us riled up about certain issues on this, when it comes to planning, Mr. Clark. And that's why I'm always saying thank you to the MPC. That's why I'm not down there trying to undermine the funding for the MPC. I think we need to make sure that we have effective and adequate planning in this parish and in this city.
May I say one last thing?
Sure.
That's also the reason that you created a planning commission of citizens in the unincorporated area. Citizens in the unincorporated areas felt that their desires and needs and were not being properly addressed or adhered to. So with the separation, you created a 6-person board, and I think they do an incredible job. And they come from all different aspects of concepts of planning. And I think they do an incredible job, but that's why you created that board, so that it would not be the city determining what develops out in the unincorporated area. And they voted to move this forward for approval to you.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Is that all, Commissioner Jackson?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Commissioner Cawthorn.
I don't know this question is for you, Mr. Clark, but it was mentioned 200 plus people will be employed. And I was just sitting there wondering, the number of vehicles and the type of parking or pavement, whatever it's going to be, that would take care of these vehicles. I'm just trying to envision this 200 plus people, and how many vehicles are we talking about possibly parking?
Well, you know, and that was a concern that we had, that you were all of a sudden going to bring 200 vehicles to this site, it was going to create possible chaos. But it's our understanding from electrical contractors that in order for their companies to be efficient and very productive, they allow their employees to take these vehicles home so that they're dispatched from home the first beginning of the day instead of coming to a building and going out. It's more cost effective, it reduces fuel costs and everything. So that was the program that they presented to us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Cawthorn. Are there any other commissioners who wish to speak? Okay, thank you, Mr. Clark.
That brings us,
It appears, are we ready to move on?
it would bring us to the next public hearing on our agenda.
Okay, great. So we have another public hearing about a zoning matter.
Right,
and
the next one, would you like me to go ahead and read it?
Yes.
And if you, or I'm sorry, officially I suppose you should go ahead and close this one since we've heard from both sides. And then we'll
Okay.
open that one.
So, since everyone has spoken, I'll declare this public hearing closed. And can you move us into the next one?
Okay. Now we will open a public hearing for ordinance number 6338 of 2023 in regards to planning and zoning case number 23-12-P. That's an ordinance to amend volume 2 of the Code of Ordinances of the Parish of Caddo as amended, the Caddo Parish Unified Development Code, by amending the zoning of property located on the west side of Albany Road, approximately 3,000 feet north of Old Morgansport Road, Caddo Parish, Louisiana, from RA Rural Agricultural Zoning District to C4 Heavy Commercial Zoning District, and otherwise provide with respect thereto. This is in District 2.
Okay, at this time, we will open the floor for public hearing. Those who are for this particular ordinance will present, and then those against. Right now, and know that you have 15 minutes for each side, so you can split them up based upon the number of people you have here. Okay, the first person I see up, unless you have a designee, is Beverly Zaire. Oh, well, if you want the other one to go first, since nobody designated.
Yeah, the cards do not express whether somebody is in opposition or
Well,
not. So.
yeah, it does. It says opposition.
Oh, okay.
These are all the opposition. I
don't know that we have any.
I don't think you have anybody for.
Oh, maybe there.
Okay. Well, you need to.
Did you
had the same name.
Did you sign a card?
No, I didn't.
Okay. Well, you need to do that.
She didn't
then.
sign a card. We
Well,
need
you
a
can come
card.
up. That'll be fine. Opposition. You would need to sign a card. Okay, Ms. Beverly?
Yes, it's Beverly Zaire, 5265 Albany Road.
Okay.
And I live right across the street where the small driveway is going to be for this project if it goes through. I'm here on behalf of our neighborhood to state our opposition to the passage of the ordinance because it's not going to fit in with an area like ours. 40 residents and landowners signed our opposition petition, and copies are in the file that you have. We do not want that zoning changed to commercial or for an open zone district for the parcel of land. We're deeply concerned about what would happen to our neighborhood if you allow the change in zoning. Our concerns are our safety, our privacy, dangers for our children and grandchildren, increased crimes, decrease in our home values, loss of our peaceful neighborhood, loss of our freedom to enjoy agricultural activities and hobbies, and traffic hazards especially. It would be inconsistent to the master plan for this area, and that is what the PZC even found out. It would be intrusive to our residences. It's not compatible to the existing uses in the zoning of nearby property. It would open the door to commercialism. There are distinct zoning areas in Caddo Parish that should be left alone, and Albany Road is one of those areas. It's completely residential, and it needs to remain that way. Approving the ordinance will not be a benefit to our neighborhood at all. We, the residents, would not be served in any way by having a storage area, RV park, or a campground built here. It would take away all the benefits of our living peacefully in a country setting, enjoying the use of our road, homes, and lands for agricultural uses. Have you ever driven on Albany Road? Albany Road is a dead-end road. It is narrow, it has many curves, the road turns to gravel, ending at the dead end. There's no places for vehicles to turn around anywhere on the road except in our private driveways. Albany Road is not meant for heavy traffic or any commercial businesses. Commercial zoning and open space districts need to be left on North Market Street, not extended to Albany Road. Residential zones are just as important as the commercial zones. If Caddo Parish starts allowing commercial zoning to be placed into the residential zones, it's going to destroy traditional residential neighborhoods. People will sell their homes, move out of Caddo Parish, and move to other parishes or other states where they can find places to live in the country and where there is no housing developments and there's no commercial zoning. Not everyone wants to live in a development where every house just about looks the same and nobody has a chance to do anything because they're restricted on what they can do on their property and there's small lots. Well, I leave you with these 3 questions. Would you want a storage area, or RV park, or a campground right next to your own home? How would you feel if your children or your grandchildren, they couldn't swim in their pools or play in their backyard or walk or ride bikes to their friends' homes because of the fear of strangers constantly coming and going right next to their yards or driving on the road? How would you like people turning around in your driveway with large pickups pulling large camping trailers, fifth wheelers, or motorhomes? We implore you to listen to us, the residents of Albany Road, and vote the ordinance down. Do not give Mr. Allen, who lives elsewhere, the opportunity to come into our neighborhood, destroy it with commercialism. It would not be allowed in his own neighborhood. Why should it be allowed in ours? And I thank you.
Okay.
If anyone has any questions, I'll pass my time.
Any questions from Ms. Zaya? If not, you got 11 minutes left. Is anyone else you want to call, Ms. Zaya?
Yes, Ms. Moore, that you know.
I don't know if anyone's fancy
State
machine
your
back
name.
on. Sorry.
You need some help?
Yes, please. I don't know.
Uh-huh.
And my name's Genevieve Bowers. I live at 5230 Albany Road, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71107. I hope you all have taken time to go over your file with as much consideration as you'd expect someone to do for y'all. Actually, I'm hoping you read mine because I'm a crappy speaker. Like, this isn't for me. I live at the property that's going to be affected the most by this. I live, as you can see right here, which will be completely surrounded by Mr. Allen's RV park. It will be bumped up to my property with his driveway, literally feet from my driveway. It will run the entire length of my property and go behind it, opening up to his RV park. I have a child that likes to ride her bike and play in this area, and this is not making it any safer for her, people coming and going constantly right outside of my home. I am at home a lot by myself because my husband works a lot, so literally they could walk through that pasture, or this, which is my pasture, to my back door. Easy access anytime. Like I said, this is not something that makes me feel comfortable or safe in my home. Mr. Allen stated that this is something our area needs. We have 3 RV parks within 10 miles of my house, and I could get a spot the same day we left the meeting when he said he couldn't. We have 2 trailer parks that do long-term RV places at Goodwill. We have been RVing a lot in this area, and most RV parks have pools, playgrounds, stuff for people to do. That does not. If you notice, that's Interstate 49. Nobody's going to want to stay and look at Interstate. So you're not getting families or good people. You're getting probably a crappy RV park that's pretty cheap that you see off the interstate. I've also witnessed the influx of RV drivers too, because we've been going places, and we live on a dead-end road, very narrow, lots of curves. One side of it is the cliff. You fall into the RV, or you fall into the 12-mile bayou. We've had residents hit those curves too hard and fall off. Like I said, it's very, very sharp, very narrow, and dead-end, no place to turn around. And say, even experienced drivers have had issues. Mr. Allen has not communicated with any of us. I live on that property. He's been over there several times. I've never seen a land survey. He's never talked to me about anything he's planning on doing. He's never did what the other gentleman did and tried to make accommodations to help the neighborhood. He's literally ignored all of us and only speaks at these meetings. He says he only wants 20 spots, but I've seen RV parks that are 10 acres have 42 plus RVs in them. He has over 22 acres back there. And with his lack of planning, I'm honestly not sure if he just doesn't want to rezone it to sell it. I mean, at this point, I haven't seen any real plans. He bought this property knowing that it's residential. He told us at the first meeting that he didn't have the money to buy commercial. So he bought this because he didn't want to pay for more expensive property. So he's putting our families and our safety in a more vulnerable state because he was cheap. He also stated that he was doing this for his retirement plan. Unfortunately, this is where I'm retiring. This is my home forever. I'm going to be here. I'm glad that he wants to pad his retirement so he can live a cushy life off of Albany Road, but this is where we live. So this is affecting us daily. I would appreciate it if you would just take the time and, hear us all out. Thank you again. I appreciate it. Y'all have a blessed day.
Okay, you have 7 minutes and 47 seconds. Is anyone else you want to call?
I'm Kathy Fuller. I live at 5126 Albany Road. The road in front of my property is 19 feet wide. There are deep water drainage ditches on both sides of the road. The ditch in front of my property is 40 inches deep. There are several miles past my property, and many young and older people live past me. It is of great concern that emergency vehicles would not be able to get down the road with wide vehicles taking up that space. I ask you to seriously consider the zoning and beg you not to add hoopla and more traffic and wide vehicles to this quiet country road. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Fuller. Is anyone else you want to call? You have 6 minutes and 54 seconds.
I'm Randy Rasmussen. I live at 4904 Albany Road. I actually own a 36-foot RV travel trailer, and it is totally ludicrous that this guy would want to try to have a trailer like mine come into his property because there's not enough room to make that turn between the deep ditches. You're going to drop that thing off in the ditch, be stuck and hung up. It's just, and also, I travel a lot for work, and I've been to places like this, and it ends up being, I've had stuff stolen from me, I've had people proposition me for drugs and prostitution and everything else at those kind of places. We don't need this place on Albany Road. I know he's trying to say storage and what have you, but no, this is just ridiculous, and I hope you please vote this thing down. He's not helping the neighborhood any whatsoever. If he wants to do something to help it, get some chickens and cows and pigs put out there. That's what it's zoned for. So, thank you. I'm going to yield to somebody else.
Yes, sir. Anyone else to speak on this issue, against this issue? You have 5 minutes and 52 seconds.
I won't need all of it. I'm Diane Walden. I'm at 4866 Albany Road. I am so sorry, my voice is shaking because this really bothers me.
Take your time.
I'm the very first house on Albany Road. In front of my house is now a Love's truck stop. 10 acres in front of me is now a fixing to be an Ivy Hardware. And this is my retirement home. So now I have a hardware store, and I have no idea if they're gonna exit and come out on my road. I mean, my fence has been hit, my tree has been hit, I have a brick mailbox, it's been taken out. Thanks. It's been taken out, and Now they're gonna do an RV park down my street. I don't know if y'all can see this. Somebody might need to help me, just hold me up. Anyway, I don't need to do all this. I'm just gonna show you. I was good at show and tell in school.
You'll probably need to show
Okay.
us here.
I called the parish and said, would you please put a dead-end street sign up on my street? There's no way out on the other end. They finally come and helped me with that. This is a field trip down my street.
You can look at and see where you need to turn it.
Well, just turn your
We-
head
we-
sideways.
We'll
Anyway,
just do this then.
that's okay. You'll get by. Anyway, if you go further on down the road, it turns into a one-lane road. Okay. A one-lane road.
That's better.
This is how curvy that road is. And if you see where those tall trees are, that's a cliff. That's 12 Mile Bayou down there. That if you have two RVs, there's nowhere to turn around. He's gonna say that, well, the school buses come down. They had to get permission to turn around at a church. The fire department didn't even know about all this. They have to get permission to turn around at a church. There's one spot. So this is, okay, I'll do it the right way. Pavement ends. It stops. I mean, it's a dead-end road. This is what this road looks like. So my thing is, if we did all of this for MPC and they denied this, and now we're standing here in front of you, and y'all are taking your time to listen to us about our neighborhood, how are two RVs gonna go down the street? And I'm not talking about women's driving or men's driving or ability to handle an RV, but these are a lot of people that are retiring that are now gonna be driving these RVs, and you're gonna have two of them. There's no shoulder. There's no place for anybody to hit the shoulder. And then if you have them stuck on the side of the road, like her driveway, I mean in that ditch, if you have them stuck on that ditch, how are we gonna help our families if we have a medical emergency for our grandchild? How are we gonna save our child if we have a problem going on? And I'm sorry I'm so upset over this, but this is, there's a lot going on in our neighborhood, and we sure don't need any more. And I thought all this was over when MPC turned this down, and I got a phone call and got off of my lawnmower at 1 o'clock because somebody said, "Hey Diane, that final meeting's today?" And I said, "You gotta be kidding me." I said, this ain't over. And I have a lot of respect for y'all and what y'all do and all the things that y'all listen to people. But help us with our neighborhoods. And I have much respect for MBC and all of their stuff. But y'all gotta help us with our neighborhood. This is, I mean, I now have a truck stop in front of me, and on the other side of the truck stop is a liquor store. And now I have a hardware store. And now you're gonna send, I don't care if it's 2 lots or 20 lots. Now you're gonna park RVs and have these people that he says, and Mr. Allen says that we're gonna shut it down at 10 o'clock and we're gonna monitor. No, you're not. Nobody's gonna be on property. You're gonna do this all by computer, and people are just gonna pay their little fee, and then they're gonna be done with that.
So you hit the jackpot.
Did I do that?
They called it Miss Diane.
Okay. Is that my blood pressure? Does that mean time's up?
Well,
Now you're
Mr.
gonna
Grill, I've never-
I didn't. Oh, great.
Kevin's checking to see. Meanwhile, we're gonna burn up while we're.
Is Mr. Allen still in the room? Are we really gonna
We'll
leave?
recess.
Until we have a
Recess until we find out.
Are you for real?
We gotta follow. If Caddo Commission's not gonna.
What is it? What is it?
I'm good, how are you? You don't remember who I am, do you? I recognize the face, but I work with you at Caddo Parish. Danny Fuller, Danny.
Hey, after we get this going,
Kevin, he checked the panel.
All right, the sooner we're back, the sooner we'll try to wrap up.
How many of us there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5?
Because I looked at it like this because I guess the guy. Oh, this guy.
Yeah, I smell smoke, man. I smell it right there. I smell it right there. It's down. So something. That's just something.
Right.
Okay, we were at Miss Walden. Has Miss Walden come back in? She had 14 seconds left. I think she was closing. Miss Walden, you had 14 seconds.
Well, that was interrupted.
You brought. Were you finished?
What's that?
Miss, undoubtedly she's finished.
I do it.
Okay, we'll reconvene.
On my phone. Make it happen.
Now we do.
You good?
Now we have 7.
Okay. We got 8. All right, 14 seconds. Are you opposed?
Yes, sir.
You got 14 seconds.
Sarah Harville, 5340 Albany Road, Shreveport, Louisiana. I live toward the end, right down here. What my concern is, the C4, he is wanting to put a commercial business in there. He has a gutter company and roofing company. He already has a sign that's out on 49 stating that. So he's going to move his gutter company, roofing company on that property. And that's my fear.
Okay. All right, well, your side has run out of time at this point.
I appreciate
So we
y'all's time.
appreciate it. Yes,
Thank you.
ma'am. Thank you. Okay, now Ms. Candace Allen.
Hello, I'm Candace Allen. It's my brother and I, David Allen, who spoke at the last meeting. We are trying to put an RV park on 0 Albany Road. We thought it would be a nice area because it is on I-49, which once y'all do the extension, tons of traffic by there. I am also a travel nurse and I own an RV. I live in my RV. And it did come from taking a contract here at Willis Knight and Bossier where I didn't have a place to stay. I did call at that time in February. Every RV park around us did have a waiting list. She might have called that day, but when I called in February, they were all full. We listened to their concerns. I understand some of them. I don't understand some of the other ones. Concerns being we will take their kids out, and that is a quote. We will invite prostitution, drugs, and crime. I don't know who invites that, but that's not something that's in our goal.
Talking to Mike, please, if you will.
I mean, I don't know what else we were going for C4 because we wanted RV storage. There's a misconception that it's storage units. It is not. It is just something to park your RV under, which we don't technically need and could go open space. I really don't have much to say on it other than we wanted to plan for a smaller RV park, granted the size of the land that we own, somewhere I could live when I come here in town. I don't have much else to.
Well, thank you very much.
Very clear.
Thank you very much, Ms. Allen.
We can ask questions here, can't we?
Yes. Commissioner Jackson.
Yes. You said when you come into town, where do you live?
I am from here. I'm from Mooringsport.
You're from here?
Mm-hmm. I
Where you
have
live
lived
now?
here all my life, but the past 10 years I'm a travel nurse.
Right. So
when I came here January and February of this year, just for vacation, I was offered a position as a traveler at Willis Knight Bossier, which I'm still currently working at.
Okay.
So every year I come in January and February, a week in between contracts, which is 3 months, So I do own an RV. I do go to the parks.
Right. So hold on. Where do you live? That's
In
what
Morrinsburg. My permanent address is in Morrinsburg.
And is that by this place?
It is about 10 miles from it. My brother, David Allen.
You said when I come in.
Mhm.
You mean come in from Morningsburg?
When I come in from, let's say I've already just extended till the end of this year. So this next January, I might go and work in Florida.
I'm sorry, I'm lost. I'm trying to figure out where you're coming in from.
Another location,
Out of the state.
wherever
Possibly.
I might be, yes. Are you familiar with travel nurses?
I'm familiar with travel nurses. I don't think you answered my question as direct. I'm trying to
When
figure
I
out.
come in,
Right.
meaning if I take a contract in another state,
Right.
drive back in, I usually stay in town a month to 2 months at a time.
Okay.
Then I go back out.
Go back out.
Do something somewhere else, and then I
Gotcha.
come back.
But for the
It's all-
purpose of resident, you are a resident of Morningsburg, is
Yes.
what you're saying. That's what
Caddo
I'm
and
trying
Caddo
to
Lake.
ask. Okay, that's what I'm trying to ask. Okay. All right, thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Allen. Trying to get my phone hooked up. I'm sorry. Oh, okay. All right, give me a second here. Yep, okay, you're good. All right, Mr. Clerk.
Okay,
Let's-
did you have any
Oh,
more?
okay, public hearing is closed.
Okay. That brings us then to public hearings on ordinances, where we have, these are non-zoning related ordinances. And we do have 2 public hearings scheduled today. The first is a public hearing for, would you like me to read them and take them up together, or do them one
That'd
by
be
one?
fine.
Okay. The first is 12.1, public hearing for ordinance 6336 of 2023. That's an ordinance amending the 2023 budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Parks and Recreation and Oil and Gas funds to appropriate funds for Shreveport Green. The other item is a public hearing for ordinance 6339 of 2023, and that is an ordinance amending the 2023 budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Reserve Trust Fund. That's regarding an allocation to the food bank.
Okay, you have a motion? Huh?
Public hearing.
Oh, open it up for first, okay. Public hearing is now open up for ordinance 6336. Both of them at the same time?
And 6339.
And 6339. Anyone that want to come up and voice your opposition or be for it, you can do that at this point. I see no one. Public hearing is closed.
Okay, that brings us now then to zoning ordinances for final passage. The first item is ordinance 6337 of 2023 related to Parish zoning case 22-37-P. That's an ordinance to amend Volume 2 of the Code of Ordinances of the Parish of Caddo as amended, the Caddo Parish Unified Development Code, by amending the zoning of property located on the west side of Wallace Lake Road, approximately 780 feet south of Overton Brooks Road, Caddo Parish, Louisiana, from RA Rural Agricultural Zoning District to RA PUD Rural Agricultural Planned Unit Development Zoning District, and otherwise provide with respect thereto in District 9.
Okay, there's a motion by Commissioner Atkins, second by Commissioner Young.
What was the motion?
Commissioner Atkins?
I make a motion to approve Resolution 6337. If I can get a second, I will speak to it.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's been a tough decision. There's been lots of back and forth on this for numerous months. There have been very relevant arguments on both sides of this issue. However, we put the Parish Zoning Commission in place to work through these issues for us in conjunction with the MPC. So therefore, I believe that we should support the recommendations of the Parish Zoning Commission unless there's a gross error in their decision. I believe their decision to be reasonable. In this particular case, they have made, the developer has made large concessions to the neighborhood. There's an 8-foot privacy fence will be built. There's going to be a 300-foot setback from the road. They will be preserving the existing trees as natural barriers. They will enhance the landscaping. They're going to upgrade the building front and sides to a more residential-friendly brick facade. And they're moving parking spaces to the rear to reduce the commercial appearance from Wallace Lake. They've also gabled the roof and put on a front porch and add lantern-type lighting to make it feel more residential. All this while being a football field back from the road. So I understand the concerns of Mr. Nichols. I understand the concerns of Mr. and Mrs. Thornton. It's a difficult decision, but I move to approve Resolution 6337.
Okay, Mr. Clerk, I guess you roll call.
Okay. Commissioner Hopkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell.
No.
And Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts.
Yes.
Commissioner Cochran.
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez is absent. Commissioner Lazarus.
Yes.
And Commissioner Epperson.
No.
Okay, so that is, let's see, I believe 9 in support, 2 in opposition, and 1 absent. Unless I have miscounted, I believe that is correct. And that motion carries.
Okay, Mr. Clerk.
And that brings us to the next item, which is, the next item on your agenda is going to be the ordinance number 6338 of 2023 in regards to parish zoning case 23-12-B. That is an ordinance to amend Volume 2 of the Code of Ordinances of the Parish of Caddo as amended, the Caddo Parish Unified Development Code, by amending the zoning of property located on the west side of Albany Road, approximately 3,000 feet north of Old Mooringsport Road, Caddo Parish, Louisiana, from RA Rural Agricultural Zoning District to C4 Heavy Commercial Zoning District, and to otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Move to uphold the decision of the PZC.
Second.
Okay, a motion by Commissioner L.P. Johnson and seconded by Commissioner Hopkins.
I'm
Okay,
sorry, who was the
Commissioner-
second? I heard several. Okay.
Okay, Commissioner Johnson.
What I always tell people all the time, just because people come down and it's a small group that says that they don't want this, they don't want that. They don't really speak for everybody that's in the parish. These homeowners had a situation that affected them. They're here. And they basically said, well, we don't want this. We want rules in place, policies in place. When you get to really talking to people truly in the neighborhoods, you'll understand that they really want to have things that's going to protect their homes. And we shouldn't get caught up with a few people coming down basically saying, nobody wants that. And that's not true. Albany Road, when I first got elected, I had a case. Actually, it wasn't a parish case, but the citizens came to me, and it was dealing with a school bus picking up kids walking from the end of Albany Road all the way to Old Mooringsport Road. And the school bus didn't want to go down there, said it was unsafe for the school bus to go down there, but it was safe for kids from kindergarten to 12th grade to walk to the other end during construction of I-49. And they had these construction camps, and they got woods. And I talked to the school superintendent at that time, and I said, well, how would you feel if it goes to the media that you felt that the bus is unsafe, but you want kids to walk 2 miles to the bus stop, and then have to cross Old Mooringsport Road to catch the bus, which then also threatens them to do that as well. So I've been up and down Albany Road. I know how wide it is. It's built to old parish standards, so probably Curtis parish standards as far as being the width of it, and it's not wide enough, not conclusive to what they want to try to do. And I'm always about preserving the rights of especially neighborhood of what they don't want in a particular area. So that's why I want to uphold what the PZC said, and I hope that my colleagues will do the same.
Okay, we can vote. I'm sorry, Commissioner.
I just want to say that I applaud this decision of the Metropolitan Planning Commission, and I'm going to vote to uphold it too. My philosophy ever since I've been a commissioner is to maintain the integrity of neighborhoods. That's why I voted no for the previous ordinance. I think that the person that came down in opposition on that initial ordinance articulated well. I have an issue right now within my district where basically similar situation. We got $400,000 homes right across the street, and it looks like hell where this business is now. So I don't care what you say about what they say, putting lipstick on a pig is still a pig. And you have to look at what's happening, going to happen down the road. You open one gate, you're going to have to open another. So I will be voting to uphold this decision. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Young.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think the MPC and the PZC have done a really good job on both these cases. On one of them, they recommended the approval, which we just approved, for a change in zoning with a whole bunch of concessions that made it moderate and compatible with life in that part of town. And in this one, there isn't a middle ground that's been achieved, and they suggested that we should turn down the change in zoning, and I think they're right on both cases. So I want to thank the MPC for their hard work and their diligence and their thoughtfulness in both these cases. Zoning is hard and it never pleases everybody, but I think they did a good job finding a good balance and making good recommendations. Thank you.
Anyone else before we vote? Mr. Clerk?
Okay. Commissioner Hopkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell.
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts.
Yes.
Commissioner Cochran.
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez is absent. Commissioner Lazarus.
Yes.
And Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries with 12 in support, none in opposition, and 1 absent. And that brings us to the next items on your agenda, which are going to be your ordinances, non-zoning related, for final passage. You have 2 today. The first is ordinance 6336 of 2023, an ordinance amending 2023 budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Parks and Recreation.
Move
and
to
Oil and Gas
approve, sorry, Jeff, move to approve ordinance 6336 of 2023 and ordinance 6339.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and second to approve 6336 and ordinance 6339. Vote? No question?
Fund. And the second was from Commissioner Gage Watts, is that correct? Okay.
Yes, he was the loudest.
Okay, let's vote.
Okay, we're ready for a vote. Commissioner Hopkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell.
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts.
Yes.
Commissioner Cochran.
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Lazarus.
Yes.
Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
And that motion carries with 11 in support, none in opposition, and 1 absent. And that brings us now to the next section on your agenda, which is going to, sorry, 1 minute while I turn my page. That is going to be, we have no zoning ordinances for introduction by title today, so we'll move forward with ordinances for introduction by title, where you do have 3 today. The first is the introduction of ordinance 6342 of 2023. That's an ordinance to establish and merge precincts consistent with the 2023 Caddo Parish Commission districts in accordance with Louisiana Revised Statutes 18:532 and 18:532.1 to amend certain precinct legal descriptions. And the next item is introduction of ordinance 6343 of 2023. That's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Public Works Fund to provide debris removal after the June 16th storm and otherwise provide with respect thereto. This is a companion to your emergency ordinance with this, a similar title. And 16.3 is the introduction of ordinance 6344 of 2023. That's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Reserve Trust Fund to provide public assistance to Caddo citizens as a result of the June 16th storm and otherwise provide with respect thereto. Again, that is a companion ordinance. Additionally, you will note that on your electronic agenda, you do have some additional attachments that are publicly available regarding that merged precinct map. We do have some enlarged versions too, if you'd like to take a look at those. The next item is work session minutes, where you should have attached.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Commissioner Jackson, second by Commissioner Gage Watts. Can we do that by unanimous? Or do we need to?
Need a
vote
roll
on it?
call.
Let's vote.
Got roll call.
Let's vote.
Okay. Who was my motion in second?
That was Commissioner Jackson and seconded by Commissioner Gage Watts.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Hopkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts,
Yes.
Commissioner Cothran,
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez is absent, Commissioner Lazarus,
Yes.
Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
All right, that motion carries with 11 in support, none in opposition, and 1 absent. That brings us now to,
Resolutions.
resolutions.
Move to approve resolution
Second.
34.
It's been moved by Commissioner Johnson, second by Commissioner Gage Watts to approve Resolution 34. We can vote? Oh, I'm sorry.
You second her, and then I'll go after her, or you make it.
Commissioner Gage Watts, Commissioner Epperson.
No, they go ahead. Let them go ahead. That's fine.
Mr. Clerk, I have 2 letters that were sent in support. I'd like those read into the records, please, sir.
Okay, would you like me to distribute those as well?
Right.
Okay. I have these letters right here, and we do have a copy for each commissioner. I'll read it first and then distribute. This letter comes from Mr. Ray Holman, and it is to Commissioner Ken Epperson. It says Highway 79 from the Texas state line to I-20 is one of the deadliest highways in Caddo Parish. It's been featured on TV as a top news story. Big rig trucks have no regard for speed at all. They pass on the shoulder of the road and ride your bumper. If you're turning, you need to put on your signal way ahead of the street you're turning on. I've been involved in an accident on Highway 79 that totaled my truck. The driver was speeding in a construction area. There are other members in the subdivision who've been involved in accidents on 79. Highway 79 from the Texas state line to I-20 needs to be a 2-lane highway. I've lived in the Woodpine subdivision since 1997, and this has been a constant problem. And that comes from Mr. Ray Holman. Would you like me to proceed with the second letter as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The next letter comes from Dr. David B. Craig, who writes, hello, Commissioner Epperson. I am writing to express my support for Resolution 34 of 2023. I live in Bethany, Louisiana, off of Highway 79. I often travel home on Buncombe Road also. Both of those roads are dangerous. There are not enough sheriff patrols to cover it. We live off Bramblewood Way and turn off 79 onto Pinewood Trail. We asked for a turning lane when they redid the road, but we did not get one. There are signs that say no passing on the right, but the large trucks and cars just pass anyway. My son was hit 2 times when he was in high school by cars speeding and passing illegally and totaled his car twice, one time by a hit-and-run driver. Even though they redid the roads 79 and 80, they did not do a good job. These roads are far worse than before at the intersection, and people drive terribly at that intersection as well. 79 used to be patrolled better, but since COVID, there's been very little police or sheriff's presence. All this to say, we need the automatic traffic enforcement to aid our police and sheriff's department. Thank you for all you do for the parish, Dr. David B. Craig.
I'd just like to add that I've received numerous complaints of speeding and reckless driving on Woolworth Road, Colquitt Road, 169, Shirley Francis, and the last time I had an interview at the Veterans Cemetery, the reporter, Alexander Meacham, she was nearly run off the road twice. We spoke about that. Now, Mr. Larry, what's that 689 leads to the cemetery?
789.
789. 789 is rough also. So I would hope that we all would support this trial area. It really makes a difference. I hadn't had a ticket since 1978. I did get a warning ticket from one of the digital cameras in the school zone the other day, and I tell you what, it certainly made me cautious because I can do a lot more with $125 and give it to them. Thank you.
Commissioner Carlson.
Yes, in the beginning, I had some reservation concerning this situation, but after getting some statistics from 2022, 1,088 traffic crashes, of which 17 were fatalities, and so far in 2023, there's been 5 fatalities. So that, in and of itself, if one life is saved as a result of this, I'm all for it.
Okay, Commissioner Gage Watt. Commissioner Johnson,
You go, let her go ahead and I'll go last. That's fine.
all right. Commissioner Gage Watts.
Okay, sure. Thank you, Mr. President. First, I asked to be a sponsor on this, so I see that I was left off as the sponsor.
I'm sorry, that may have been that you were added before we postponed it. I apologize. I can have that corrected before it's filed.
All right, thank you.
In fact, if you were left off, there were probably some other people that were left off from a previous version. We'll see that those are added back before we file the final copy. That's just an error when we have an item that's postponed, and sometimes it doesn't refresh onto the computer system. So I'll double check that and correct it for you. Thank you for the note.
Commissioner Johnson?
Thank you. Basically, you know, I want everybody to understand that this is a pilot program. This is not something that's going to be set in stone, going to be done from here until the end of eternity. But it is a pilot program. At the end of 6 months, we'll assess it and see if it's working. If it's not working, it's done. This is also an authorization for the parish to seek someone to do this. It doesn't mean that Sharpie is going to be the one that's going to get it. And this means that when they go out for the RFP, whoever has the best product at that time will get it for that 6-month pilot program. So, and they could come back and say nobody actually had what we wanted in the RFP. But it is a pilot program. So that's all I want people to understand, that this is a pilot program on our parish roads. And it's not gonna be a camera stuck to a pole. It'll actually be an individual that will be shooting the radar gun at individual cars. These cars and these guns, the guns are that will be aimed at the cars, can also track that license plate if it has a red flag to alert the local officials of where that car actually is at that time. So it is something that, you know, you can think about, and I'll ask for your support on this. It's like the 3rd time or 4th time. But I'm consistent. I'm gonna keep bringing it up. That's all I have.
Okay, anyone else? Commissioner Stephon Jones.
Let me go ahead and say I am in support of this. My only concern is us educating the citizens as to exactly how we are doing our pilot program versus what the city is doing with their school zones, and making sure that we educate them from a standpoint of letting them know the dangers of this versus us coming from a revenue standpoint. This is more about public safety than it is about revenue. I would hope that would be our angle when it comes to educating the citizens as to why we feel like this is necessary. So I just want us to be careful in that respect, because here again, I am supporting it, but I don't want a bunch of backlash. I understand it's a pilot program, but your average citizen doesn't really hear that. All they hear is I'm gonna be getting a bunch of tickets. So while I support it, I just want to make sure we do our due diligence and making sure that they absolutely understand what's going on. I think it's a great idea, but not everybody picks up on that terminology, so to speak. So, I mean, just like we were talking about with the millage, putting it, the way we word it is going to be really important, articulated, so to speak, to the citizens. So I hope everyone would support it, because this is a public safety issue. But I also want us to make sure that we're really careful in that area. So thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, Commissioner Young.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mrs. Bryant, are we going to approve the fee schedule and the due process elements of this before the pilot program begins?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Jackson.
Yes. How long will the RFP process be on this? Is it a 30, 60, 90-day RFP?
It would probably be a 45-day
45.
RFP once we issue it. We have a few in the queue, but yes, once we issue it, it will probably be 45 days.
45 days to respond.
Yes, to respond.
To
but
respond.
the whole process?
Yeah.
The entire process, we're in July. It may be after October.
Okay. All right.
Before we have this.
I just trying to get in my head a sort of time frame on how long it may be, because I know some RFPs some RFPs have a shorter window. There's a difference between RFPs and bids or something like that, and the time windows they differ when you do them. I'll just say I was asked a couple weeks ago, why would you do something that you're not totally in favor of or in line with? And my response was, I do this at least every other week. And Here in case is one example right here, so let's get the show on the road. That's all I'm gonna say.
Anyone else on this particular issue? If not, we can vote.
Oh, my nose.
Okay, Commissioner Hopkins,
No.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson.
Watch me, Joe. Yes.
Commissioner Young,
No.
Commissioner Burrell,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watt,
Yes.
Commissioner Cochran,
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins,
No.
Commissioner Chavez is absent, Commissioner Lazarus.
No.
Commissioner Epperson?
Yes.
Okay, and that motion, I believe, carries. I believe that is 7 in favor, 5 in opposition,
4 in opposition.
4 in opposition and 1 absent. And so that motion carried. Next item on the agenda,
Oh, Commissioner Epperson.
Can I ask Mr. Hopkins a question?
Sure.
Mr. Hopkins, one of my constituents called and got a ticket in Gibbon, so could I get a cut out of that?
That's a whole different municipality.
That's all I have. Thank you.
All righty then.
okay, we have no old business scheduled today, but we do have 2 items under new business for your consideration today. The first item is an appeal of the Parish Planning and Zoning Commission related to case number 23-5-BAP. That's an appeal concerning a requested variance at 6994 Vancouver. And I believe it's the appellant here today. I thought that might be him. Mr. Patrick
Move
Pratt
to
is the appellant.
Sorry.
move to uphold the PZC decision.
Okay, a motion by Commissioner Johnson, second by Commissioner Jackson.
And
Commissioner
at this
Johnson.
time, I would ask Mr. Clark to come up.
And just as a reminder for formatting, you know, we have not had one of these come before us in some time, so Mr. Clark will come up, he'll be allotted time, then the appellant will come up, he'll be allotted time, and then you have, you know, the opportunity to discuss it and or follow up with a
What is
motion
the
or-
allotted time?
It's the same as on the zoning case, of 15 minutes aside.
All right, Mr. Clark.
You had any questions, I can just explain.
Yeah, I would ask that you will inform the rest of the
Okay.
commissioners about the case. I'm very familiar with it, so I want them to hear it. as
This
well.
property owner erected a garage in the front of his home on Vancouver, and I think the subdivision is 1 North Place. And it was done without a permit. So when you do things without a permit, you don't get the interpretation of the law, you don't get advice on where these type structures can be placed and so forth. This one is placed, I don't know if y'all have a copy of it in your packet. If you don't, I can put it on the, maybe on the,
There should be one on your electronic agendas.
I don't-
Okay.
but that is the structure that is at the residence. And you cannot have an accessory structure in the front yard to begin with. And accessory structures have to be 5 feet behind the building line of a residence, which this does not meet. So based on no permits, based on it is totally in discompliance with, not in compliance with the ordinance in any form or fashion, the Caddo Parish Planning and Zoning Commission denied the variance. The Caddo Parish Planning and Zoning Commission was so emphatic with their denial, the applicant had made a request to defer the case to provide additional information to them. They denied the request for the deferral and denied the variance in the particular case. There is nothing that we could find that would help us in coming up with a mechanism to make this legal. Everything about it is totally legal. It is the residents were in widespread opposition.
to this because it distorts the character of their neighborhood. And some neighbors are saying that with a structure this far out into the front of the residence, backing out into the street, it becomes a safety issue. And they were concerned about possible children being hit, possible wrecks occurring. So all of those reasons were why the Caddo Parish Planning and Zoning Commission denied the application for variance, and there was no hardship. If, if there was a definable hardship, hardships deal with topography and things of that nature. There's nothing that would give any board a reason to approve this particular application.
Okay. With that, the opposition comes up at this point?
The appellant is here.
The appellant? Okay. Okay, well, I'm waiting for,
By the way, sir.
okay. The appellant, if you would come up.
And Mr. Pratt is the appellant.
Mr. Pratt.
You on, buddy?
Yeah, your show.
Well, it's tough being a preacher at the last time when everybody's tired and evacuated the building. As much as I do appreciate the sentiment, and we did get a permit for the tune of $350. And as much as I want to do anything humanly possible to correct this, and if we can move it to the back, if we can disassemble some portions of it. But my issue is that MPC never talked to me. Now, one person spoke with me and said that this is what needs to happen, because anybody that knows me know that I am an approachable person. And once we erred, my biggest thing is to correct it and to make it right. And so when we asked for a deferment, nobody even told me that we wasn't going to have one. I wasn't even at the meeting because Emily at your office said that, well, we're going to defer it. I was out of town that day. I didn't come to speak to them like I'm speaking to you all today. So when the deferment pushed over, when they had the meeting, not only did they just do it, but they emphatically, yes, sir, denied it. And so my only thing is that we would like to, I wanted to be able to put it in between, because the statute does allow us to go to the rear of the property. But because of the distance between the two houses, in order to ask for the variance, we don't have enough room between the two properties that would allow us to go to the rear. So I guess the biggest point today, my simple question would have been, hey, how can we correct it? How can we fix it? How can we make it right? Now, one neighbor has spoken to me about this. That's the hardest thing, to know that I'm waving and speaking, because I wave and speak to everybody that I see. But not one neighbor that I'm hearing them, they have not come and said, well, Patrick, I don't like that. And I'm very approachable. And my thing is, I will do anything to make it right. We did invest a lot of money in a limo that we're storing in there. So it's not like we're just trying to just put up something and we put great planning and making sure that it's fitting in with colorization of our structure. I can stand in my front yard and see a trailer park that's got all kinds of structures and stuff that's 500 feet from our subdivision. Am I correct? Okay, yes, sir. So my thing is that we're going to get along even after today. We are going to get along even after today because it's so important. But I feel like it was so important that I stay, Brother Johnson, and we have the conversation, because no one has had the conversation with me. Not one person. And I feel like it's not even fair to you because this is the first time you and I have even seen each other, correct? Correct? Well, okay, that's fine. Because I don't want us to have that. I apologize. Because my point is, I'm just approachable. And so we shouldn't have even ended up at this point. Let's find a solution. Let's fix it. And that's what I'll do. So that's my stand on it. And if I've offended anyone, I apologize. Thank you all for hearing me. I know the platform had already been set, so good evening. I know y'all ready to go.
Okay, thank you, Pastor Perez. Okay, Commissioner Johnson. I'm sorry. Oh.
Was there any discussion or?
Yeah, I'm finna ask a question. I'm just
Commissioner Johnson or Commissioner Jones?
I yield to.
Okay, I said Johnson. You gonna speak up?
Yeah, I will. I'll wait you get through your conversation over there. Mr. Clark, I do have a question. You see why I do what I do, don't you?
Yes.
Mr. Clark, if the vote today is to uphold the PZC, then that would make the owner have to tear down that particular building. And what time frame would he have to do that? And then is it possible for him to then relocate it to the rear of the property? Because he just said it doesn't have enough room to the side.
And I think that we made a determination that he could not relocate it to the rear of the property. But if you uphold the PZC today, then he would be advised to remove the structure, by whatever means he find appropriate, whether tearing it down or having it removed. And that's generally a 10-day process, and then a final letter. And then if it doesn't happen in that time frame, it would be referred on to the parish attorney to submit to the district attorney for prosecution. But it's in violation. I would think that when this was happening, I was and not in the office at all times, but I would think that by the complaints that we received from the neighborhood, that he got a violation letter. But I'll check that if it's important. But the citizens were quite adamant, and that's why I shared with you that the PZC was so appalled that they did not even defer the case. They wanted to take immediate action.
Okay, thank you. That's all I had.
Okay, Commissioner Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Pratt? I want to start off by saying I know that you're a good guy. So I don't want that to be, taken out of context or anything like that. But yes, I also want to make sure that it's clear that things have to be done a certain way.
Yes, sir.
So that we don't end up in situations like this. And just from what we have before us, what the Parish Zoning Commission has come up with, there is really no way to correct this in the state that you're in. I just want to make sure that that's clear, that we don't get to make any bends to the law. And I know it seems like more of the issue for you, just from what I've heard, it has been more of a communication and clarity issue than anything. But the fact will still remain that just from what we are dealing with, legally this can't be done. And so because of that, you're here because of that. I don't think anyone else has any personal reason for you to be here at this point. It is really a legal issue, and that's what it boils down to.
And I don't take it personal at all, by no means, to anyone. But I think my question is today, though, do we have options as far as this body?
I think that's what I was trying to get into.
Well, that's my question.
Yeah, we really don't have from what I'm saying, and if I'm wrong, please correct me, from a legal standpoint, we are out of options. And we have to work within legality.
Right, and I was under instruction, it was 4. Either to send it back, and I'm not, am I out of order? Am I out of order? Am I out of order, y'all?
No, go ahead.
Well, you're asking,
Okay.
I called you up.
Okay, so I was thinking that was one option of sending it back to the MPC. Of course, then the other one would be what we're saying, then you make a vote. And I want to say that maybe there wasn't 4, maybe there was just 2. Help
Just
me.
as a point of clarity,
Help me.
the options that the commission has available to them on an appeal are to uphold, reverse, remand, or postpone. So that's your 4.
That was the 4 I remember reading that. So here's
Just, excuse me, point of information, Ms. Fraser, is that your opinion on this matter?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Again, I'm not trying to be out of
No,
order.
go ahead.
So my thing is that in the present scenario, if we can go back, if it means taking, if it's visual, that's the issue, then the structure doesn't have to be as lengthy as it is. Or the sides. My thing is that it is a lot of money that's tied up, but we ought to be able to reason among ourselves on how to make it compliant. If it means, taking it, if it's visibility that they're saying something about not backing up, then okay, then can we just have a top shed and not be a closed shed? Yes, we'd have still lost money, but that's all I was saying. If we go back and sit down, which nobody ever talked to me after I paid the $350 and said, okay, this is what you can and can't do at this point. So that's all I'm asking, if we would go back, have the discussion, and then say, okay, we can't help you. But I haven't been afforded the opportunity with minds that are far brighter than me in this stuff to say, okay, this is what we can do to solve the remedy. Does that make sense?
I definitely hear where you're coming from.
And that's all I'm asking is that, that we have the discussion about how can it be corrected. And that's all I want to do is correct it.
If I may, and I'll yield in just a second. I guess what I'm trying to get back to is the main thing that, okay, we are at the point where we are dealing with an illegal zoning situation. We have to either uphold or not uphold that decision today. The
Or send it
motion
back.
right now is to uphold it.
Or send it back,
and,
right?
And we could.
Right.
Okay, the issue is hearing from the NPC and the overwhelming denial from the PZC shows us that this structure is not compliant. We're not really in a position, and here again, if I'm mistaken, Attorney Fraser, where their correction can be made outside of upholding this. The conversation probably needs, or what probably needs to happen, Mr. Pratt, is you go back to square one with whatever it is that you're trying to do, go through due process, and you'll either be approved or denied, as in any other zoning case with any other citizen or any other business trying to do anything. So there are certain zoning laws that allow you to have certain structures in your yard. If it's not within the legal realm, we can't negotiate around those zoning laws. We have to follow those laws
Right.
as they are. And so I don't want you to have the understanding that a negotiation can take place today or anything like that where we can correct it.
No, I get that.
Are we clear on that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I totally get that you guys can negotiate it. The only thing I'm asking, if we can send it back and the ground level that you were saying, what can we do at this level to make it in compliance if we send it?
And
that's the only thing.
And here again, that's a
To send it back, I'm
conversation.
saying, but at this level, you can send it back, right?
That's not for us to decide what you can do at this
Right,
level.
right.
You will have to go through the process, application process as anyone else would do, and you would understand what you can and cannot do as it relates to the structure.
Even if we send it back?
That's an option. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen today.
Right, no, I'm saying
I just
it's-
want you to know
Right.
if that does not happen.
Right.
Or it does happen, things have to be done.
I get it.
According to the law.
Right. And
Thank
I'm
you, Mr.
just
President.
here asking whatever I can
Okay,
ask.
are there any other questions or comments before we vote? Okay, guess we can vote.
I do
Mr.
want to,
Johnson?
yeah, I do want to try to clarify this. The motion I made is based upon the vote that the PZC did. If it was 3-3, I could say send it back, but it was 6-0. That's a 6-0. I mean, that's a no-no. Based upon the frontage, being in the front, and also not even having the footage to be in there, that's 2 violations right there in one. The best thing to do is, I'm kind of what Commissioner Jones is talking about, is start over from square one. I mean, you might be able to ask the PZC, if you tear the size down, shorten it up,
Yeah.
it work? May work, may not work. It probably don't fall into it. I have seen in some situations a carport in front of a garage, but that's like right abutted to it. But what we seeing in that picture that was up there was a long structure in front of the house. Earlier this year, I had a gentleman that wanted to put a 40 by 40 in front of his house, right there on the lake. And I said no. He hadn't even broke ground yet. He wanted to, because he had a business that he wanted to put woodwork and do all kind of shop stuff in. No, couldn't do it because the ordinance says you cannot put those type of structures in front of the house. He was saying he couldn't put it in the back because it could flood because of the lake. Well, there's nothing we can do about that because that's what the ordinance says. I mean, if we violate what the ordinance says, now they'll appeal it to judicial court and then we get sued.
Right. Now, what is the variance when we use that root word vary? What the variance from that? What latitude
So
does that give
variance
us?
is an option. That is an option that you can
Right.
do.
So what latitude do we
But
have
this
with that?
doesn't have the latitude. That's what I'm saying. There's no latitude with this one because, one, the structure was built, it violated 2 ordinances. And so that latitude is gone. I mean, as far as a variance, it's gone. But if you had went and tried to negotiate what you could possibly do, if it could be on the side and got a variance from your neighbor to say you can encroach my property or whatever they had to do and put it over there, that could have been a variance. But to put it in the front, I mean, you had opposition during the PZC, so that wasn't gonna happen anyway. If all your neighbors supported that, then that could have been a variance. But you got 10 people that said that they was opposition to that. So there's no variance to that. Okay, that's all I got, Mr. President.
Okay. Commissioner Young.
Thank you, Mr. President. Attorney Frazier, if we voted to remand this, would that allow the appellant to talk to the Planning Zoning Board about other ways to make this building fit on his property that they would be willing to recommend a variance for?
Commissioner, I honestly think that is a question that's better suited to Mr. Clark, simply because I don't know what the process is once they get back down here, back to that level, since where it is illegal, and there's not any wiggle room on that. If you uphold them, then he can still go back and talk to them and find out where, if there is anywhere on his property, the building can be placed.
Thank you.
So, sorry, point of clarification. Did you
Yes.
say, is that all right, Mr. President?
Yes.
Did you say, Ms. Frazier, that if we vote in support of Commissioner Johnson's motion, he still has the ability to go back and speak to the MPC?
Well, yes, he would want to go and find out where, if there is anywhere it can be placed. I mean, Mr. Clark, am I correct in that? Or, I see you shaking your head, so I think I may have missed something.
I think they'll just tell him he has to remove that. They don't care what happens.
I always feel that if you want to remand something back to us, you want additional information necessary for you to make a decision. I think we've given you everything we possibly can. I think the Planning and Zoning Commission has shared with you in depth by their decision and their 6-0 vote that there's very little room for a variance, but he can file another application and make a proposal. But I don't think the neighbors, Commissioner Johnson, will ever be in favor of a huge structure sitting out in front. And you talk to them, we don't, but a huge structure sitting out in front of the houses in that neighborhood. I don't think that's popular in any neighborhood in the city of Shreveport or the parish of Caddo. But, and I'd just like to clear up one other thing, the $350 that the gentleman paid was the cost for the fee for the variance, not for the permit. So that's the solution to not having these problems, is applying for a permit.
Okay. Any other? Well, all right, it's been a motion to call for the question by Commissioner Carlson, second by Commissioner Epperson. We'll vote on call for the question.
Okay, call for the question. Commissioner Hopkins?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson? Sorry, he's absent. Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Gagewatch?
Yes.
Commissioner Cothran?
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins?
Yes.
Commissioner Lazarus?
Yes.
And Commissioner Epperson?
Yes.
All right, that motion carries. So that means we are going to do a roll call vote for the original motion, which is to uphold the Parish and Zoning Commission decision. And the first, and we'll do the roll call now. Commissioner Hopkins?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson is absent. Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Gage-Watts?
Yes.
Commissioner Cothran?
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins?
Yes.
Commissioner Lazarus?
Yes.
And Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
All right, that motion carries with 10 in support and none in opposition and 2 absent. And the final item under new business that you have to address today was an agenda addition today, and that is the item concerning the. Let me read the correct language if you don't mind one moment. That is to reallocate up to $75,000 in American Rescue Plan funds from the from True Fund project to the Shreveport Police Department to provide additional resources related to the recent mass shooting incident on July 4th.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Commissioner Johnson, seconded by Commissioner Gage-Watts. Commissioner Johnson.
Yeah, this is a public safety issue. July 4th, we had 4 people to die, 7 or more that end up being injured or shot. This was something that was planned from information that I've gotten. This wasn't just something that just popped off, but it was something that was planned. And basically knowing how things happen in Shreveport, especially in MLK area, there will be some retaliation if this case is not solved quickly. And it doesn't mean that it's gonna all happen on MLK area. It could happen anywhere in Shreveport, anywhere in Caddo Parish. So I want to be able to offer to Shreveport Police Department the opportunity, if they need to work overtime to solve this case with the detectives, if they need to have other law enforcement agencies come in, including federal agents to come in to help, they need to get it so that we get this solved. Because as time goes on, things are happening, and it's going to get worse. So as each one of these incidents happen, more and more families are getting involved, which makes a smaller incident grow bigger and bigger each time it happens. So during the press conference, there was asked what thing that the parish could do. We don't have law enforcement that works under us, but we can allocate some money to make sure that others come in to help to solve whatever we need to get solved. And this money is coming from the ARP, and it's coming out of True Fund, the project that I'm sponsoring, so I didn't have to ask another commissioner about that because I know how some people are tight with their project money. So I want to make sure that I led by example on this and try to get this done. That's all I got.
Commissioner Atkins?
Commissioner Johnson answered my question. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, we can vote?
Okay, Commissioner Hopkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson is absent, I'm sorry. Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell.
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts.
Yes.
Commissioner Cochran.
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez is absent. Commissioner Lazarus is absent. And Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
All right, that motion carries with 9 in support and 3 absent, none in opposition. That brings us almost to the end of our agenda. We do have communiques and committee reports.
Are there any final communications or report?
Yes, sir.
My answer. Oh, Commissioner Epperson.
Madam Administrator, don't forget that letter from NLEP that came from GE.
Yes, sir. We'll get
And
that.
what are we going to do with, I think we're down to 5 days to let citizens, I don't know of anyone that's aware of the job fair.
If they're
What
continuing,
can happen?
if they're gonna continue forth with the job fair, we're gonna, work with them to make sure our citizens are aware of the job fair. If they're continuing forward, we're gonna, so it's the 12th next week is my understanding.
Okay.
But we'll, have Crystal get with them to get the information, make sure it gets to the times. And, the Advocate is supposed to start, July 10th and make sure it gets with the Advocate, the news media. We'll
What
check.
now?
I was saying the new newspaper, the Advocate, it's supposed to start, its run July 10th, Monday.
A new newspaper. What is
Yeah,
that?
we're having the,
Oh, we got a new newspaper.
so the Advocate
Who's
is
the
out of,
publisher?
at
Since
the
you brought
Advocate, the
that up.
newspaper out of Baton Rouge, and they also have
Okay,
in New
Baton
Orleans.
Rouge Advocate, okay.
Yes, the Baton Rouge Advocate, they have the New Orleans Advocate, and now they'll have the Shreveport Advocate.
All right, I'll drink to that. What's this money Mr. Johnson had relative, what you call that?
The
Where you
ARP
got
True
that
Fund?
75, yeah,
True Fund?
True Fund.
That's in ARP, this business
You
assistance.
got any left?
I might have a little bit.
Okay, let me have about 25,000. I want to get some buses from Caddo and have the people to meet up and we take them over to the job fair over in Bossier.
Yeah, we use some Galilee money for that.
All right, now.
All right. We gotta take care of the citizens.
All right, thank you, Mr. President.
I got calluses on my hands. I gotta work out.